got closer to Jesus before. So can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It is a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. I'm sunburned, which pretty much ruins the myth that Italians don't burn. I'm sunburned today.
Well, I don't care what ethnic group you are. If you've been inside for 8 months and then you go and you discover sunlight, I bet your skin's going to be feeling it.
It's feeling it right now. Yeah.
I mean, up here in Ohio, our skin's like, what's this thing called sunlight that you're taking me into? I'm not used to this.
Especially in the wintertime when 99% of the time it's dark, gloomy, and disgusting. And then springtime comes around. And by the way, you could not have asked for a better weekend.
Right? And even this whole week of Class B baseball, the weather is supposed to be beautiful all week. So we're in for a good week of baseball.
A lot of fun this past weekend. I was umpiring games in Scene on Sunday, all day Saturday at an 11U tournament down in Austintown, up in Austintown, and that was fun. I mean, I had a great time. Now, obviously, I'm a little burned, but I had a great time watching the future of baseball, and there was a serious contrast that we're going to certainly talk about in the next 3 hours, among other things. We're definitely going to be talking about the state of baseball and the state of baseball that is not just in Major League Baseball, because there is no state right now.
I was about to say there's nothing to talk about.
Nothing to talk about because the millionaire players and the billionaire owners can't seem to get their stuff together. Which, whatever. I'm tired of those of those two groups not agreeing on anything, and let's just call it as we see it. You're going to have guys kicking and screaming into a 50-game season, which is total garbage to begin with, because it's not going to be a baseball season per se. 50 games is garbage. And there'll be a strike after the 2021 season because the players don't trust the owners. The owners have no regard for the players. They don't think they're making any money. And all the while, the fans are finally waking up and realizing, we don't need you guys. We can watch Sandlot baseball. We don't need you guys. That's, the further along this we go down the rabbit hole, the more the people are just going to sit back and go, screw you. We don't need you.
Right. And I've said it last week. I think at this point I'm just saying, go Royals. I'll watch you when you come on, but I've lost my interest in following this whole development of the negotiations, and I'm just like closed off from it now. And then when they play baseball, go Royals, and I'll watch the Royals, and that's about it.
And frankly, when they do start playing baseball, I don't even know if I'm going to watch all that many games. This has left a bad taste in my mouth, and I have no regard for baseball right now on the major league level.
I'll watch my team just because I want to root for something for a change, but other than that, no. I won't sit down and watch Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN if the Royals aren't playing. That's no.
By the way, ESPN had their special, the long
long summer,
the long drive,
I forget what it was called.
Who cares?
It's Sosa and McGuire.
Yeah, the Sosa and McGuire chase, and I was really hoping that we would go off topic and ask Sammy Sosa what the hell you did I mean, what in the wide world of Michael Jackson did you do to yourself, Sammy Sosa? But other than that, I mean, you didn't learn much. At the end of the day, we knew that McGuire was juicing, albeit legally, because Andro is an over-the-product, or it was an over-the-counter product that anyone can take.
Yeah.
And Major League Baseball did not have a red flag attached to Andro. So, I mean, I think everyone and their brother knew that the chase was a little fishy. And as it turns out, it was. But you didn't learn too much from it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people loved going to the ballpark in '98 when McGuire and Sosa were on the road, sellout crowds. Go figure. Now, I'm not saying Major League Baseball should once again do something completely illegal to dupe the fans into coming in, but we do have a few things that we can certainly talk about in terms of picking up the pace of the game. I umpired 2 games on Sunday morning at Scene, 2 14 and under games. And yeah, there's a lot of things that can be done on the field to improve the pace of play. We'll get into that in a little bit. Jason Kokrak yesterday, one shot from a playoff. And I'm sure that Jason, as long as he lives, is going to regret the 3-foot putt for par on 11 that inexplicably went nowhere near the hole. And that was, if you want to break it down, and it's really unfair to break down 4 rounds of golf to one shot. But if he hits that very makeable, and 99% of the time it is makeable, 3-foot par, he's in the playoff.
It's not fair, but when you're that close, mistakes like that get magnified. And you have to look at a mistake like that and say, that kind of defines the 4 rounds of golf, because of the fact that if he would have made that putt, he would have been in the playoff.
18th hole, the putt looked like it was going to go in. It went in and out. That, again, if he makes you're in the playoffs. But he wasn't the only one that had trouble on 18. The 18th hole was at the Schwab Challenge was interesting, to say the least. It was a fantastic tournament. I'm just glad golf was back. I thought it was really cool, the fact that these guys were playing in front of nobody. And we've reached out to Jason. And I honestly wanted to ask him if we have an opportunity to talk with him. I definitely want to ask him if the lack of a crowd was a good thing for you, because it seemed like Jason Kokrak wasn't unnerved by anything. It seemed like even when he blew the 3-foot par putt on 11, he turned around and birdied on 12. I mean, it didn't affect him in one way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form, I should say. I thought he stood up to the challenge, and he did a damn good job yesterday. And that win is coming. It's definitely coming. It just, unfortunately, he had a hell of an effort, but came up 1 stroke short of going into the playoffs. But he still pockets over $300,000. That's not too shabby.
I'd take that for a weekend.
No doubt.
But I think because golf is such a mental game, I think players would have different responses to that question, whether or not a crowd helped them. Because some of them probably feed off that energy, and others of them probably, especially if you're in the lead or you're on the leaders board, probably don't like hearing the crowd behind you of the guy that's trying to chase you, and the crowd's roaring behind you, knowing that guy just did something really good. Now all of a sudden the pressure's on you to make this putt or something like that. So I think since golf is so mental, I think players are going to have a lot of different answers to that question.
I do know this. 4 years ago, Jason Kokrak would have blown up, and he would have been a non-factor on the back nine had he missed a 3-foot putt for par 4 years ago. He would have not been a factor in this match whatsoever after missing that putt 4 years ago. Jason Kokrak has become a really, really good golfer, and it's only a matter of time before he gets a victory on the PGA Tour.
Well, it just proves the point that if you don't mentally mature, you're never going to have a good career in PGA golf. And he's done a really good job of mentally maturing himself, because 4 years ago the stuff was there. It was just between the ears. Like you said, if he missed that putt, mentality would go down and he would probably blow up on the back nine. But now he's mentally mature enough to kind of roll with that and then still be a competitive golfer.
Yeah, I thought he did sensational this weekend. Also, Ryan Blaney, a third-place finish at Homestead yesterday. Boy, NASCAR races are getting popped out real quick as they're trying to catch themselves up. Yeah, Ryan Blaney's having a hell of a good year, and I think Tony called up last week to remind us of that. He's not perfect. He has done a couple of things on his own that have not helped him out, but he's also had a lot of problems with the pit crew, a very inconsistent pit crew, and it just is what it is. Again, a third place finish. He did a fantastic job over the weekend. Thought it was a tremendous performance by the two professional Trumbull County athletes. Jason Kokrak coming damn close to winning a tournament for the first time, pocketing over $300,000, and Ryan Blaney finishing in third in the Homestead. That's not too shabby for Trumbull County this weekend.
What a weekend for Trumbull County.
No doubt. Big news for baseball fans. The Sandlot Leagues are pretty much open. Scene Park was open all weekend, and a great time at Scene. Austintown, the tremendous facilities out on Raccoon. Their ball fields were jam-packed with players and fans and coaches and all kinds of games going on. It was good to see baseball happening this weekend all across the valley in the Sandlot fields. And hopefully, not that I really give two craps anymore, hopefully Major League Baseball gets their act together and gets it done. We'll talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. I got to throw this out. And Dana Balish will be joining us at 1 o'clock to talk a little bit about this. John Deal got a raw deal in Howland.
Oh.
Make no two bones about this. 26 years.
I mean, forget the fact that whether or not he should have been let go or not, the political stuff and all that. But it's so late to let go of a coach. I mean, we're sitting in mid-June. He's not going to get another job this year. And now Howland is going to be really pressing it to get a new basketball coach, and whoever they bring in is going to be behind the eight ball, because you're going to miss a lot of open gyms and a lot of summer stuff that you can instill your program in. So it's really, besides all the facts that he's one of the most decorated coaches in the area, and I don't have any idea why Howland got rid of him. All that aside, it's a really late to make that decision, I feel like, and that was what really scratched my head.
Dana Balish tweeted out when John Deal was fired, and we will get his opinion on this. Deal told 21 Sports Director Dana Balish philosophical differences on how to mentally discipline players was the reason why his contract was not renewed. Contracts are renewed about this time, maybe a month earlier.
Yeah, usually a month earlier.
Yeah, usually a month earlier.
Because most of the time, you need to have a basketball coach. If you're not going to have it, you need to have a basketball coach in mid-June. Because they need to set up their summer program.
Now, in today's environments, I don't know how much of the summer program you can put together.
But they're still having open gyms right now.
Exactly.
So
26 years, John Deal's record at Howland, 407 wins, 198 losses, 4 district championships in those 26 years as the head women's basketball coach, or the girls basketball coach at Howland High School. I don't know. I'm gonna have Dana talk a little bit about this, and maybe he can expand on the reason other than philosophical differences. I really hope This is not another chapter of the my Susie has to play every single game book. Look, and I realize that I've only coached for 1 year, and I'm coaching at the junior high level. That's junior high stuff. And every program, and this is just my opinion. It's just my opinion. It's no one else's opinion. And I believe the top of the show, before we even have the song come on, the opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Oakley Scout organization, which they should be, but neither here nor there. Look, this is just my opinion. Every single program, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, tiddlywinks, bowling, whatever sport you're talking about, when you're in junior high and you want your kids to play in junior high, because especially if you're in a small school where you can't afford to miss on anything in a smaller school. You can afford to miss in a larger school because there's a lot more people. But in a smaller school, you really can't afford to miss. If you want to play everyone in junior high, you probably should. You probably should play everyone, not all the time. I'm not talking about every minute of every game. That's impossible. But every person on a team in junior high should see some portion of action in any sport. But once a person gets into high school, that stuff is gone. The junior high program is to cultivate what you have. Okay, K through 6, the kids are starting to, learn a little bit about the fundamentals of whatever sport here. And then when they get into junior high, okay, you know the fundamentals pretty much, and we're going to give you an opportunity to play against some really good competition, and everyone's going to play. But once you get into high school, we're separating the good from the not so good. And I hate to say this, folks, but the good will play, and the not so good, you're not playing unless there's a blowout, and that's how this is. You want to change it? Then get better. Otherwise, forget it. And it pisses me off when I hear parents go to a coach and say, why isn't my kid playing on the high school level? Your kid's not playing because your kid's not good enough to play. Now, there's two things that you can do about it. Number one, you can leave the team. Or number two, and this was what I would be if I was in the kid's shoes. Number two, because I'm competitive this way, I'd work my butt off and get better. And show the coach, hey, you're making a mistake about me. Next year or the rest of the year, I'm going to make damn sure that you got that I have your attention, and that I'm going to get some playing time because it's going to be something that I have earned and not given. I am so sick and tired of people sitting back and moaning and groaning about their kids not playing. Your kid's not playing because he's not good enough or she's not good enough. Period. Stop bitching at the coach.
Unfortunately, parents have those blinders where, sometimes they can't see that. And I think there's a third option, and that's go to the athletic director and complain. And
and that happens too.
Unfortunately, that happens.
Absolutely, it does.
A bit too much.
Absolutely, it does.
And I'm not close enough to the Howland Girls program to speak on whether or not this happened, or whether or not he was playing people that maybe I just don't know. So I can't speak specifically on that program or those players or those parents. But when you have a coach that the numbers back him up and the wins back him up and the players that he's put through that program back him up. I mean, I think he's had over 10 post players at Howland in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, go and play in college. I mean, Howland has been post player central in the area. So he's good at developing players, and I don't know what happened, but I can't speak to that. But to your point, yeah, sometimes parents can see the game through the parents' blinders, I call them, where they only see what they want to see and they don't see the whole scope of
No,
things.
exactly. And look, I mean, also you have to keep in mind, did the player screw around in practice?
Right.
Or is he or she taking it seriously? Look, I'm not accusing anyone in Howland of this. I was just saying if this is the case, and we don't know, obviously, but if this is the case, that's BS. It just is. It's BS.
Navigating all that has become a part of the job description as a high school varsity coach, whether it be basketball, football, whatever the sport is. You have to navigate the parents and the views that you put out on the kids. So it's become more and more of a description of your job, because I think back in the day, parents were a little bit more mellow about stuff, and now it's like everyone deserves playing time, and you have to kind of deal with it a little bit more.
Yeah, I just, again, I don't know where this came from, but they need to crawl back from the rock of which they were hiding under for 40 or 50 years.
Right.
Because look, I mean, if you want your kid to get more playing time, then tell your kid to start taking the sport seriously in the off season.
I would love some of those parents to be able to watch a practice without the kid knowing that their parent is there.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, okay, you're not running on the baseline. You're talking while the coach is talking. You're off in your own little world during drills. Maybe you're not working hard enough to start on varsity.
There you go. I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, you kind of want to have your practices filmed,
right,
without the kids knowing it. So if a parent says, "How come my kid isn't playing?" you can whip this film out and say, "Here you go." But obviously, that doesn't happen.
And the other thing is, when you're doing all that, once you could put the proof right in front of the parents' faces, and some of them still won't see it.
Of course not. You could say that the sky is blue till you're blue in the face, and someone will say, "No, it's not. It's black." Okay, that's that. At the end of the day, it is what it is. And look, God love the parents. They're wonderful, but.
They want to see their kids succeed, and it's
Exactly.
all coming from a good. Most of it's coming from
coming from a good spot,
good place.
But you have to understand that this coach is the person that is in charge of the program, and he or she calls the shots. You don't call the shots. He or she does. So, just my advice for any parent, if your kid isn't getting any playing time, there's probably a reason why your kid isn't getting any playing time.
And it really baffles me when this stuff comes up with a program that's as successful as Howland is, because it's not like he's making these decisions and then he's losing, so the parent can be like, "Well, you're losing because you're not playing my kid." No, the program is very successful. You're winning, and you're still thinking that he can do better, and that's what really scratches my head when I hear about coaches like this.
Now, I will have to admit to something. I looked at the record, 407 wins in 26 years. I mean, that's an average of over 15 wins a season,
yes,
bordering on 16 wins a season. 4 district titles in 26 years is a little short.
Yeah, lately,
for the amount of wins he has, that's a little short.
Lately,
just saying.
The last 6 years, Howland has run into buzzsaws named West Branch and Poland in the tournaments that have kept really good players out of the regional tournament. They play in one of the toughest districts in the year.
No question.
Because they play in the Austintown Fitch district, and when you have to go up against West Branches, the Polands, the Ursulines, and Mooney in that district, it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be a grudge match, and they've run into buzzsaws the last couple of years.
No question. It just, look, I thought he got a raw deal, every pun intended on that. Contract not renewed after 26 years, 407 wins, 198 losses, 4 district titles. And again, John Deal telling Dana Balish, Philosophical differences on how to mentally discipline players is why he is not being renewed.
For the sake of argument, I mean, this could be the board and the athletic director thinking that maybe Coach Deal has reached his ceiling, and he kept getting the team to a district semifinal, a district title, and this couldn't get them to that next step. And maybe they thought 26 years, they just need a new scenery to kind of get the talented program to that next step. I mean, it could be a basketball move. It could not be. It could not be a political move. We don't know.
It could be.
And that's the only one that I could really think about. Like maybe they thought that the program has kind of hit its ceiling with Coach Deal.
Well, now having said that, if that is the case, then this goes into what you said earlier. You let this person go in June.
Yeah, he's not going to get. Well, he's going to be very hard pressed to find another job, and then whoever you bring in to replace him is behind the eight ball.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you're letting someone go, you have an idea who you want to replace, want to replace this coach with. I mean, you have a general idea. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Right.
I would hope that Howland has someone ready to go, and that's going to be. It's not going to be as big a deal. And again, also have to include COVID-19 into the whole open gym thing, where the gyms are open, but really there's not much going on in comparison to what is normally going on at this time of year.
The summer showcases and things like that.
Yeah, you're not going to any camps at YSU because all of those camps have been canceled. So it just is what it is. But I looked at that over the weekend, and I was not happy. And I know that social media was lit up. One of the prominent coaches in the area, former head basketball coach of Warren Western Reserve, Bob Larica, wasn't pleased at all. And frankly, I don't blame anyone that was as miffed as I was at this decision.
The mentions in Dana Balish's Twitter after that tweet were they were fire. I mean, people are generally upset about this, and there are a lot of area coaches that are thinking the same thing we are. What's Howland thinking? And I think to our point before, I think if Howland comes out with a new coach pretty quick, then I think this is more likely a basketball decision. I think if it's a political decision, that coaching might take a minute to find a new coach.
Sure.
Because they might have felt the pressure to get rid of him from the parents, and then now they're scrambling to find a new coach. But I feel like if it was a basketball decision, they probably have someone waiting in the wings.
And to play devil's advocate, we were talking about showing a videotape to a parent as to why their kid isn't playing. If you secretly taped a practice, and I'm not saying that Coach Deal did this, but let's say that he started whipping basketballs at girls' heads. You're going to get fired.
That's not mental discipline.
That's not mental discipline anymore. That's just flat out abuse. And don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out of Dodge. Right. Not saying that that's the case, but again, we don't know what is going on and why John Deal was replaced, except for the mental philosophies on how to deal with a player, which seemed like an interesting gateway to something that we're hopefully going to hear what really happened. So there you go. We're going to take a timeout because on the other side, I'm going to talk about my two games that I had over at Scene yesterday. And it was fun. It was good to see the 14U kids back, but neither one of our games were finished. The 2-hour drop-dead rule was not only in effect, it was used in both of our games. And I have a couple of reasons why what went into effect yesterday. And it also goes into the game of baseball in general, the pace of the game, which has little to nothing to do with stuff outside of the game, but the pace inside the game. We're talking a little bit about that coming up in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point. Phone line is open. I was going to say phone lines are open, but there's only one line. 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
tonight. A new Wilmington
At
restaurant.
GM Lordstown,
telling more local stories
We'll look at
baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
Community in
afternoon.
Niles,
We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
Important for everyone.
No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. 330-886-0813, the number to call, as we are with you right up until 3 o'clock. Dana Balish will be joining us at 1 o'clock today. So yesterday, I spent a couple of hours umpiring 2 games. It was actually 4 hours, not a couple. Back-to-back games at Scene. 14 and under were starting their season yesterday. And look, opening day, a lot of things going on, and obviously things are going to get better. Things are going to get an awful lot better. But as everyone knows, in the B League this year, because of COVID-19, there's a lot of things that are a little bit different at the ballpark. And the biggest of which is there's going to be a 2-hour limit. And it's not, you can start an inning before the 2 hours and then play. No, this is a dead drop 2-hour limit. And
Like, do you even finish the at bat? No, it's completely dead drop. So even if there's like 2 balls and a strike and that 2-hour clock goes off, it's the end of the.
It's the end of it. So we had 2 games, my partner and I, and both of us called games from behind the pitcher's mound. Which, by the way, that we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I have my opinion on doing games from behind the mound as opposed to behind home plate. I expanded my strike zone because it was opening day. I expanded my strike zone about 2 inches to the outer edge of the plate and 1 inch to the inner half of the plate. I expanded the strike zone to include about 2 inches below the knee and about 1 inch or 2 above where I would call, where it would be letter high around the armpit area. And we still couldn't get either game finished in the 2-hour limit. Kids were not throwing strikes. Number one, they weren't throwing strikes. But what bothered me, and this again is going to be, you're going to get used to the 2-hour thing because this is the new normal for 2020. You have 2 hours to complete 7 innings or however the game goes. But once the 2 hours is over with, doesn't matter where you are, game's over. You've got to be able, if you're a baseball team, you've got to be able to understand we now have a clock in a game that which normally you don't have a clock. So now we got to hightail it on the field and off the field. We got to quit dilly-dallying around in the warm-ups, have the pitcher throw his warm-up tosses, boom, 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 and you're done, and let's get the batter in there and ready to go. The pace of play yesterday was so god-awful slow that it basically, now I understand why fans of Major League Baseball can look at this and say, oh my God, is this game boring? This game is so damn boring and so damn slow. Now I can understand why fans are saying this, because I got a taste of it yesterday. It was boring and it was slow.
Yeah, and we talked before the season started. We thought 14U was going to be the one that really kind of struggled with it to start, because they're not just learning; they're learning all the facets of the game too. I mean, so now you throw at them, hey, you have this 2-hour clock that you have to deal with as well. I'd be interested to see how many of the 18U and 16U had to be cut, like either cut short or didn't meet that 2-hour mark. But like you said, when the 14U, the pace of play is just different. You know, it's you got to speed it up. And kids are going to get used to this. They're going to be coached up, and hopefully they hustle a little bit more to get on and off the field too.
Yeah, I saw kids staying in the dugout when the inning was over, and you're ready to go out onto the field. You just got your red bats, and they're staying in the dugout for like 25, 30 seconds. I'm like, guys, let's go. You're on a clock here. And look, it will change. Yeah. It'll definitely change. But it got me to thinking, with Major League Baseball, you can have a slow pace in Major League Baseball if a pitcher's not throwing strikes. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if a pitcher's throwing strikes, now you can see where things are going to happen. The game's going to get quick. Let's get to the phone lines here. Thanks for waiting. You're on YSNLive.com. What's going on?
Hey, Ron Bethesda, it's Richard Joanna.
What's up, brother?
What's up? So I just wanted to comment on Anthony just asked what was the time limit of the 18U games. Well, first, the Astros mercied Whiting, but either way, the game wouldn't have been finished in 7 innings. And then the second game I did at night got finished in 6. And going off your point, it took, I think, 5 minutes in between each half inning for each team to get on the field.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. It just is. I mean, I think the kids need to realize, and look, I'm not going to pin it all on them because it's opening day and things are going to get a whole lot better. But you've really got to understand, if you have a 2-hour limit, you're only doing yourself a disservice if you're not hustling on and off the field.
Definitely. That was a problem yesterday. Kids were taking too long to get out of the dugouts. They were walking out of the dugouts at times, and with a 2-hour time limit, you just can't be doing that. But one thing I saw in the later game at 7:30 was that the team that was ahead was definitely milking the clock in the final 2 innings. They were taking 5 minutes on average just to warm up. So they were up 3-0 at the time, and they knew the time limit was approaching, and they definitely took advantage of that.
Richie, while we have you on, let's talk a little bit of what you saw from a baseball perspective. I know you called the Astro Falcons 10-0 win. Andrew Russell pitched really well. He had a lot of good stuff. I think he threw 6 innings and struck out 6 and gave up I think 4 hits and no runs. What do you see from him?
Well, first off, he was blowing his fastball by everybody. Nobody could catch up to his mid-80s fastball, and then he was locating his breaking stuff. He was just tremendous, and then his lineup backed him up. Right off the bat, the first 3 hitters hit 2 singles and then a triple. They were up 3-0 before the blink of an eye, and they kept it rolling from there. I think it's going to be really tough for this Astro Falcons team to take a loss this year.
Richie, you brought something up that bothered me the moment someone said we were going to have the 2-hour limit. And I knew this was going to happen, where you have a team that's up and they're going to milk the clock. They're going to go into the baseball version of 4 corners where they're going to, they just got their at-bats and they're going to leisurely take their time to go out onto the field. Is there something that the umpires can do to make sure that that doesn't happen? All right, Richie, we've lost you, I think. You there, Richie?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, I think it's really hard for the umpires to speed baseball up. It plays as it is, and if the kids aren't hustling it out, there's not really a consequence you could put in place for that. So, I don't know. I guess that's a league decision whether they want to put a time limit on warm-ups in between innings, but they're going to have to figure something out because kids are just taking too long to get going.
Agreed. I saw it yesterday, and again, it's just opening day, and I think that things will get a whole lot better. But that was the one thing that I saw, or that I thought of when we heard the rule coming down that it was going to be a 2-hour drop-dead game. Well, there's going to be a lot of people doing delay of game type of shenanigans.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think it's ever going to stop. It's kind of like tournament play on the weekends where there's a strategy once you're ahead that, you can milk the clock and you could take your time out on the mound. But on the opposing end, I saw Ross Brothers, their pitcher was taking 2 seconds in between pitches. As soon as the catcher caught it, he'd get back on the mound and he was ready to go. So there was definitely a different pace when you're down.
Richie, how did it feel to be back in the broadcast booth and be able to call baseball again on YSN?
Oh, it just felt great. I mean, after the cancellation of the spring season for both the high school sports and college sports, it was an awesome feeling to get back in there. And I got lucky that I was able to call one of the best teams around in the area, and the Astro Falcons, in my first game.
You're back at it tonight. Give us a preview of the games you're calling.
So far, I got Dura Edge, who I saw last night, Eagleware, and then Nightline, and as well as Whiting. So 2 teams I haven't seen yet, as well as 2 teams I saw yesterday. So I'm excited to get back at it tonight.
Sounds like a plan, Richie. Thanks for the call, brother.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man. That's just one of the things that I kind of wondered when you put the 2-hour time limit. Kids are pretty smart. If you have a lead, let's slowly go out there and do whatever. There has to be some sort of retribution to that.
Well, I'm a softball guy. In softball, there's a minute and a half, at least in the college level and the professional level. There's a distinct time restraint on the in between innings. Like, you have to be ready to go in this amount of time, and if you're not, they start to put balls on your first count. So if you come out late, then all of a sudden you're starting your first hitter with 2 balls, no strikes. So if you're that's how they penalize you for not matching that time. And there's also a pitch clock in softball.
Yeah, and this is the reason why I don't do time clocks with baseball. This is the reason why when people sit back and go, oh, God, this game takes forever. Well, the game takes forever because there's no time clock. Now, the game's not supposed to take forever. Here's what's supposed to happen. Pitcher's supposed to throw strikes. Hitters are supposed to swing. People are supposed to run on and off the field. And everyone is supposed to be quick here.
Pitchers aren't supposed to eat a sandwich in between pitches.
No, definitely not. So from that perspective, if the game were picked up in that, pitcher gets the ball back from the catcher, 3 or 4 seconds, maybe 5, okay, we're ready to go. He's working at a quick pace. Hitters are working at a quick pace. They're jumping on pitches early, and sometimes guys want to take a look at the first pitch, try to get a deep count, if you will, try to get the pitcher out of the game, because in today's game, pitchers don't throw that many pitches in today's game, which that's another story for later in the program. But it seems like the pace of the game is tied down to 2 things, by and large. How fast the players get their butts off the field to hit, how fast the players get their butts on the field to play defense. That's number 1. And number 2, a pitcher that throws strikes and doesn't dilly-dally around when he has the ball. Oh, I'm going to dig a hole on the pitcher's mound. Well, there's only so many times you can do that. Well, I'm just going to, I'm just going to take my time here. Well, okay, but there's a difference between taking your time and taking 5 friggin' minutes to throw a football or to throw a baseball.
And batters are guilty of it too. Stepping both feet out of the box.
Exactly.
Readjusting their batting gloves.
Exactly. Get one foot in the batter's box.
Fixing their hat. The time delaying things. Those are things that you can try to get rid of to speed up the pace of playing baseball.
And I have no problem with that. I have 0 problem with that. But when people want to sit back and go, well, if a pitcher comes into the game, he has to pitch to 3 batters. No. Now you're starting to get into the game. You can take away things that are not part of the game and part of the statistical value of the game. If you want to deal with cutting some corners on stuff that doesn't involve the statistical portion of the game, have at it. I want you to do that. I've said for the longest time, you need to cut 30 seconds of break in between innings and go from 2 minutes to a minute and a half. You should have all your crap done in a minute and a half. And I frankly don't care if the game's on television. It should be a minute and a half, period. 3 commercials, have a little 10-second blurb, and you're back into action. In the minor leagues, it was a minute and 45 seconds. Time for 3 30-second commercials, a 15-second blurb, you're back in action, and you're ready to go.
Did the minor league have a consequence if you weren't ready to go when that minute 45 was up?
Yeah, the consequence was you were late going into the next half inning as a broadcaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not as the but like if the players weren't ready to go, was there a consequence? For the
no,
team?
not really. But it was that's where we were, and the minute and a half, 15 seconds of that, minute 45 seconds, you're ready to go. That was it was in the Southern League, it was in the Eastern League, it was in the Florida State League. I'm not going to assume it was anywhere else, but you get a pretty good idea it was probably everywhere else. But I can't say that for certain. Look, if you want to sit back and go, okay, a pitcher has no more than 20 seconds in between pitches, personally, I think 20 seconds is way too much time.
Yeah, softball's 10. I feel like somewhere in the middle for baseball, maybe 15.
There you go. And for the batters, you got one foot in the batter's box.
Yep.
Now, if you need to call a timeout to get something out of your eye, all right, that's fine. You can call a timeout. That's good. No problem. But, let's not make it a common occurrence every single time you're up. You're asking for time because at some point the home plate umpire is going to say, no, I'm not giving you the timeout.
And when we see baseball in the Olympics next summer, we're going to see that because I think in international baseball there is a pitch clock. You can't take more than 1 foot out of the batter's box unless you call timeout, and there's probably going to be an inning clock too. So we're going to see a lot of those things in international baseball come the Olympics.
And look, I have no problem if a manager comes out to the mound to talk things over with a pitcher and talk things over with the infielder. He gets to do it one time. One time, and then the second time, sorry about your luck, you're out of the game, and you're done. See you later. You do it twice in an inning, you're out of the game. You can go once an inning, and after that, all bets are off. It just bothers me when the pace of the game is so slow that you realize that some of the folks that don't like baseball for that reason, I understand why they don't like it.
When you in like fiction, they call it suspending your disbelief. When the pace goes so slow that you start to notice how slow it is, that's when you have a problem.
Yeah, no question. I talked a little bit about pitchers that are not throwing the ball all that much. Yesterday was the 46th anniversary of something that we will never see ever again. Not even, it's just, there's no way in hell this will ever happen again. On this date in 1974, actually it was yesterday, so the 46th anniversary was yesterday, Nolan Ryan threw a 13-inning complete game. He walked 10. He struck out 19. And in 13 innings, Nolan Ryan threw 235 pitches.
You'll never, ever see that again.
And oh, by the way, he made his next start 3 days later because they back in the day had pitchers on 4-man rotation instead of a 5-man rotation, where every 3 days you got the ball and you were expected to throw 9 innings.
I am sure that he felt that after his start after that, he was probably sitting there like.
Well, I'm sure he did, but he didn't miss many starts, and as I said, if this happened today, jobs would be lost. Yeah. I mean, jobs would absolutely positively be lost.
There's a lot more money in the game, so the arms are a lot more important, keeping them healthy. And there's a lot more, like concussions in football, there's a lot more knowledge on the extent of damage that can be done by a pitcher's shoulder. So as we grow in the medical field, we kind of start to realize maybe throwing 235 pitches in a game is not exactly safe.
No, it probably isn't safe, but it begs to...
And it doesn't adequate to a long, healthy career.
It begs to question, though. The guy did throw till he was 46 years of age. He didn't have an arm surgery or a shoulder surgery.
How old was he when he did that?
Oh, gosh.
So is that like towards
probably in his late 20s, early 30s.
It was like early career. So.
Yeah. Well, in the early part of his career, he began with the Mets, and he was on the '69 Mets team. That was 5 years later when he threw 235 pitches. So I would say he's in his late 20s when he did this, maybe 30 when he did it. But it begs to question.
He never had arm surgery, but back then, I don't know how close they surveilled it. Maybe like in today's game, someone would have told him, "You probably need surgery on this shoulder."
Yeah.
Maybe back then he had a problem, but it wasn't serious enough for a doctor to say you probably need surgery.
Well,
you just never know.
All I know is guys that were on a 4-man rotation instead of a 5-man rotation pitched every 3 days, and most, if not all, of those starters were in the high 200s for innings. And that just year after year after year. Now, you mentioned something that is obviously true, the money factor.
Yeah.
The money factor is one of the many things that has shut down baseball that I grew up with as a kid. It shut down, by and large, the up and in pitch. Because, guys are getting paid. You don't want to take a chance at ruining someone's career by going up and in, even though 99 times out of 100 you can control where that ball is going. But in this case, pitchers that were pitching on 3 days rest and not 4 days rest, and you were expected to throw 7, 8, 9 innings and possibly longer. Yeah, those days are gone. No, it's now the game is so much different because the advent of the bullpen. Now you've got Well, I'm going to bring my lefty in to face this lefty. Oh, I'm going to bring my righty in to face this righty. Oh, I got a setup guy. Oh, I got a closer. Closers back in the 70s, they didn't pitch 1 inning. They pitched 4 innings.
Right. 3
and 4 innings to get a save. So the game is a lot different.
And nowadays, the only time we don't forget the 200 plus pitches, we don't even see complete games hardly ever unless someone's throwing a no hitter or a perfect game. So only time you leave them in there past the 8th or 7th or 8th inning, and that's the only time you let their pitch count get above 120, maybe. I mean.
Yeah, and again, the pitch count, that to me is that's irrelevant. The pitches per inning is what that matters. By the way, Nolan Ryan in the 13 innings, 235 pitches, averaging over 18 pitches an inning.
That's above average.
That's above average.
Average is about 15.
15 or 14 pitches an inning. That was above average.
Oh, when you walk 10, you're gonna have that.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. That's the other thing that made me chuckle was when I saw, hey, Nolan Ryan pitched 13 innings and he gave up 10 walks. Well, he struck out 19, but he gave up 10 walks. He wouldn't have lasted 5 innings if he's walking all of these guys.
Did they win?
No idea. No idea. Knowing Ryan, he probably didn't win because there were a lot of games that he didn't win that probably should have won.
That's why wins and losses are garbage for a pitcher.
Oh, it's overrated. Way overrated.
I care about if you pitch well enough to keep your team in the game. Then that's a good start.
The earned run average, the walks and hits per innings pitched, those two things are a whole lot more important to me as far as determining how good a pitcher is than how many wins a pitcher has. Because, again, you can pitch for the 27 Yankees or a team of that ilk that scores 7 or 8 runs a game. You're going to win a lot of games. Even if you give up 5 runs, if your offense is bailing you out of trouble, you're going to win an awful lot of games. That's why, for me, looking at a pitcher and how many wins the person has, I'm not interested in that. Give me his ERA. Give me his walks and hits per innings pitched. If he has a lot of pop in his fastball, give me the strikeouts per innings pitched. I'd love to see that as well.
So how impressed are you with the guys that consistently get 16, 17 wins a season? Is that a record, like the record for most wins in a season? Is that something that you put a lot of stock in, or not really?
Well, it depends on who he's pitching for. I remember the 72 St. Louis Cardinals or the Philadelphia Phillies. I think it was Philadelphia. 72 Phillies won 54 games all year. Steve Carlton won half of them. 27 wins for a team that only won 54 games. You got my attention. Absolutely. But by and large, wins for a pitcher, it just depends on how good your team is offensively. Did they bail you out of trouble on a lot of those starts? It wins down on my list of determining how good a pitcher is. We're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we will hear from 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. We will talk with Dana about what happened over at Howland with the head basketball coach, the girls basketball coach, John Deal. His contract was not renewed after 26 years with the Howland Tigers. We'll talk about that. Jason Kokrak and Ryan Blaney coming ever so close to getting into the winner's circle. They did very, very well this weekend. We'll talk with Dana about that and other things. That's all coming up in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Stay in the showers, I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Ardwig, and we are joined by 21 Sports Director Dana Bala. She joins us on the YSN hotline. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron, yourself?
Cannot complain. So over the weekend, we heard that Howland girls basketball coach John Deal, his contract was not going to be renewed after 26 very successful seasons with the Howland Tigers. And you tweeted out, and we've used this as reference, that Coach Deal told you philosophical differences on how to mentally discipline players. Is there an explanation behind that, Dana?
Well, I think you could kind of interpret it any way you want to, Ron. Certainly, Coach Deal's success over 26 years, he's won 4 district championships, played in 6 district championship games. And I think when you get to the Sweet 16 and into that Elite 8, physically you have to be ready, and I think even more so mentally, you have to be, mentally ready. And I think that's, the interpretation that I kind of take at it in these games where, it matters. You got to be mentally ready. You got to be able to, take constructive criticism. And let's face it, coaches do it different ways. And, in my experiences, Coach Deal, did it the right way. And again, that could be interpreted very, very different. And again, I'm not there all the time, but only the times that I've seen him coach, over the years, and certainly, my interpretation would be when you get into those crucial games, you have to be mentally focused and mentally, ready to go, and that's the interpretation that I would take it as.
To me, it feels kind of late to make this kind of decision. We're in mid-June. Other schools have already let go and hired a new coach by now. Any idea why Howland kind of took a little bit of time to make this decision? Do you think there were some disagreements within the board, or do you think they were trying to get someone lined up so they could hire someone right after they made this decision?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. All I know is that most coaches are non-renewed, and it's part of the process. Most coaches are non-renewed at the April or May board meeting. And certainly in the situation that we have with social distancing, there was probably, not a board meeting until June. I think, all coaches are non-renewed, and that's part of the process. And, keep in mind, there was a soccer coach who was also told they're not coming back. The girls' soccer coach was told they're not coming back as well. So this wasn't a basketball decision. This was a decision, that affects soccer and basketball as well.
21 Sports Director Dana Bala is joining us on the YSN hotline. Dana, a great weekend for Trumbull County sports athletes on the professional level. Jason Kokrak coming ever so close to his first PGA Tour victory. It's becoming elusive, but man, he was so close to getting himself into a playoff yesterday. It was fun to watch him golf yesterday.
Yeah, and it was, he had his best day yesterday, shot a 7 under, I believe, yesterday, 64, or 6 under yesterday, 64. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was. I mean, had a good first round, struggled on day 2, got back into form on day 3 on Saturday, and, really, really played well yesterday. One shot off the pace. It's a good way to come back. You kind of keep that momentum going now, and certainly, I talked to Jason a couple of weeks ago, and he's excited to be playing, in Columbus at the Memorial, and if he could continue this going, I'm sure, within a couple of weeks or a month, we'll certainly see that first victory for him. But I thought he really played well, and Jason in the past, has always seemed to struggle on that final day and when in contention. And whether it was no fans being there yesterday, I mean, really didn't succumb to the pressure and, and played well. So hats off to him.
Ryan Blaney coming ever so close to getting into the winner's circle down in Homestead, Miami, finishing 3rd in the latest NASCAR race. Ryan's having a hell of a year this year on the NASCAR circuit.
Yeah, except for, no pun intended, that bump in the road a couple of races ago. I mean, he's in the top 5, in the top 10 consistently, in points and as a playoff spot. You get that win, you automatically go to the playoffs. But, points-wise, he's in good shape and, has the right teammates, I think has the right machine. And, he's, had a, has been right there, just things didn't go his way. I mean, you go back to the Daytona 500, I mean, he lost that in the closest race in Daytona 500 history. So he kind of got out of the gate really, really good. The next couple of races, did very well. Then this, this break and has come back, to be pretty strong. So sooner or later he'll find the checkered flag once again.
Class B and Sandlot Baseball came back this weekend. Sometimes you're able to get a little bit different insights than we are here at YSN. So what have you heard from people on how this weekend went for baseball?
Well, I think the first thing is following the rules. I think that's the key thing. I know fans were social distancing is something that I was told, which is good, and the players need to do that. There's some hard habits to break, like the high fives and and things like that. But certainly, as time goes on, you hope those things work their way out. But so far so good for day 1, and you just hope it continues.
I so wanted to have sunflower seeds in my mouth, and it just spit out the hard shell and have my sunflower seeds, and I just that's part of whether you're on the field, whether you're umpiring a game. I mean, that's part of baseball. It was weird not being able to spit out the hard shell on the sunflower seeds. It was very strange not seeing anyone spitting on the ground, which, I mean, disgusting as it sounds, it was very strange not seeing anyone do that.
Well, and again, that's kind of the norm we live in now. I mean, things are going to be different all around, from that end of it, Ron, to if Major League Baseball ever gets started, you're going to see a lot of changes there. And I just think this is a case where, this is the new norm we live in. And, I talked to a lot of high school coaches over the weekend and today, and, you kind of ask them, some of their plans, and they're like, we just don't know because we don't know what the norm's going to be. So I just think there's some patience. It's a day-by-day process.
Dana, before we let you go, a couple of things. Number one, do you think Major League Baseball gets it together before Rob Manfred says, hey, you guys have had your fun, now I'm going to make a ruling and everyone's going to go along with a ruling?
Well, I think it's twofold, Ron. I think, first of all, I think Major League Baseball missed a great opportunity, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Second of all, any ruling that he makes unilaterally, which will start the season, will have an impact on the CBA, which will be discussed in the off season. So, you may have baseball this year, but you may not have it next year. And is it worth it to have 50 games this year or whatever? So I think there's a lot of, again, I think there's a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And those decisions decisions, whatever they are, and look, the baseball player said, tell us when to start. Okay, so it's going to be, a 48 to 55 game season because he'll unilaterally start the season. But the Players Association is going to remember this, and I would expect a lockout next year because it doesn't look good for baseball. And they had a golden opportunity, and I think both sides are to blame for this a little bit because they had a chance to kind of be the first sport to come back. And really, baseball, quote unquote, is America's pastime, and they had a great opportunity, in my opinion, to really kind of set the tone and get people's minds off of what's going on and have something to watch. And they blew it. And it may not be just for this year. It could be, for next year as well.
And give us an update on you guys over there at the sports department and how everyone's kind of feeling now that sports are slowly kind of getting back and you guys finally have some sports to go and cover. What's the situation over there like?
Well, it's one step at a time. It's a case where the Class B has started. There's some football camps and practices, with social distancing going on, and again, we're waiting for word from the state on something like that can change, and maybe in July things kind of get back to normal from a football standpoint. Not sure how that's going to go. I think it's like anything else. When a season starts, we have golf yesterday. NASCAR's been going on. But I think when you kind of get back to some sense of normalcy with everything else, I think that's when you kind of say okay. But on a daily note, there's no daily sports anymore. Usually this time of year you have baseball, Major League Baseball and all that stuff, and it's not the same. So we're kind of taking it day by day, just like everybody else.
Dana, what is your impressions of the Horizon League going up to 12 schools with Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Robert Morris joining the gang in the Horizon League?
Well, I think Robert Morris is a good addition, especially for Youngstown State because it's an hour away, and now you have Cleveland State an hour away. So now you're going to have another close school where fans can go. I think you always want to have an even number, Ron, and but Robert Morris, let's face it, they're going to come in here and they're not going to lie down. I think they have they won 23 games in basketball this year in the Northeast Conference. The women's team has gone to 5 NCAA tournaments, so it's not going to be a pushover for for YSU or anybody else in the Horizon League. I think the more local schools you can get into it's better, and certainly you have the schools in Indiana, but I like Robert Morris being an hour away, Cleveland State being an hour away. I think that's really good for Youngstown State.
Yeah, the I-76 corridor between Cleveland and Pittsburgh is all Horizon League all the time, and that's a beautiful thing. Well, and again, you play Robert Morris in football, and again, this is, for all sports except football. So I like it. I just wish there were more local schools in it in the state of Ohio, maybe into, Pennsylvania a little bit, because let's face it, the trips to, Indiana for IPFW, and that sort of thing, fans can't go to those games because it's, it's a couple days, it takes you 6 hours to get to Indianapolis. So I like this. This is one that I really, really like. Dana, before we let you go, last night on the mothership, Long Gone Summer, the summer of '98, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa. Did you watch it? And if you did, what were your impressions of it?
Ron, I did not watch it. I did not. No, I didn't see it, so I can't comment on it.
No worries. Dana, always a pleasure, sir. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us every Monday at this time on the YSN hotline.
Poor guy. I think we both said before we let you go a couple of times.
Yeah, he pretty much understands that when I say before I let you go, it's going to be 2 or 3 more before I let you go before I let you go.
He was probably doing this like, oh, you want more?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like he's doing anything. There's no sports for crying out loud. We're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we'll take some phone calls. 330 886-0813. It is a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself, like I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, strutting down the street. It's gonna get hot in here, I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come, so call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
It's a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Number to call, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. If you want to talk about the situation up in Howland with the girls basketball coach, John Deal, his contract not renewed after 26 years as the head basketball coach in Howland. 407 wins, 198 losses, and 4 district championships. If you want to talk about last night's 30 for 30, long gone summer, Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, in the memorable 98 season, and memorable for a lot of reasons, and as it turns out, some of them not so much, but I remember my first minor league job, and I've told this a few times. I was in Lubbock, Texas, and the season was over for the Texas-Louisiana Baseball League. It was an independent league, and I stuck around about a week afterwards to watch some Texas football, high school football, and then I went home. And on my way home, it was the summer of '98, turning into September, and on my way home, I was able to catch both WGN radio as well as KMOX, and you had Jack Buck and Mike Shannon while on the call on KMOX, and you have Pat Hughes and Ron Santo on WGN. Pat Hughes is one of the finest play-by-play broadcasters in baseball today. He does a fantastic job. The late, great Jack Buck, same thing. Fantastic voice. And you would hear McGuire and Sosa in their, through their eyes, what was going on. And it was a lot of fun on the drive home. I'm flipping both of the stations at nighttime. Okay, what's going on in St. Louis? Well, what's going on in Chicago? And I had my AM buttons preset to 720 WGN and what is it, 1050 or I don't even know what the number is on the dial. Jimmy Powers would know because he lives in St. Louis. But I'd have my AM dial preset back in the days when you had the old, you push the button and the thing would go there. I had it to the two stations because I wanted to know what was going on between those two players. I got caught up in it, but I also knew, hey, come on, really? Brady Anderson hit 50-some-odd home runs 2 years earlier. Brady Anderson hadn't hit over 20 home runs in his career, yet he hit over 50 home runs. How? By doing what? Well, we kind of all now know what they were doing.
And I think the interesting is, back then, the people that knew almost put that aside, didn't care, and were still entertained by it.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part.
And those that were trying to tell everyone, hey, this really isn't on the up and up, everyone was shouting them down.
It's like the people that try to tell you what hot dogs are really made of. You don't want to know.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to enjoy a hot dog.
Yeah, you want to enjoy a hot dog. You don't want to know that it's made from chicken lips and all kinds of other disgusting garbage. You just want to have your hot dog. It tastes good, especially if you have mustard and onions and relish and whatever. You just want your hot dog. Now there were people that were saying this isn't on the up and up, and they were shouted down. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, hey, listen. Everyone wants to enjoy something when it's in the moment, regardless if you know in your heart of hearts, hey, this really, come on, this really isn't on the up and up here. But people aren't going to look at that. They were so into it they didn't care.
And for the first time since 1994, people legitimately enjoyed baseball.
Absolutely.
It kind of saved the game a little bit.
Absolutely. That between McGuire and Sosa and what they did in the summer of '98, Cal Ripken a few years before with his breaking Lou Gehrig's record. It was, those two things were very important aspects of saving the game of baseball. So, for that time period. And now we have Major League Baseball where it is now, where the players can't trust the owners. The owners think that they're not making any money, which is BS, and distrust on both sides. And you can just tell we're going to have a strike. It not now, but, as Dana mentioned, Rob Manfred will sit back and say, okay, guys, you couldn't come up to an arrangement. Well, here's what we're going to do: 52-game season, and that's it. That's what we're going to do. Players aren't going to forget that.
And the players are pretty much saying do it because they've shut down communications. If I'm not mistaken, so Manfred's gonna he's gonna have to come out and say we're going to play, or there's not going to be a season.
And look, at the end of the day, I can see both sides to the argument of we're going to have a season or we're not going to have a season and we'll just wait till 2021. I can now see both sides of this. Look, we had Greg Brown on Friday, and he's chomping at the bit to call a game. I understand that, and I mean that's his job. That's what he is really, really good at. But as a baseball fan, as someone who loves this game and probably loves it too much, 52-game regular season doesn't excite me. It just doesn't. It's a waste of time.
We talked about how detrimental not playing would have been like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it feels like now the cat's already out of the bag. The fans are already ticked off. I don't know how much a season at this point this year would help baseball's cause. And I don't know how much that would, in the scales, how much it would help them this year compared to how much it'll hurt them in the future.
You already ruined a golden opportunity.
You did. You blew it. So
yeah, you could have very easily come back on the 4th of July started an 80-game season and had your postseason, probably an expanded postseason at that. And you could have had everyone paying close attention to Major League Baseball because, there is now no guarantee the NBA is going to be doing anything. Because the NBA players over the weekend said, wait a second, we're not allowed to leave Orlando? We're not allowed to leave Orlando until our team is gone? We're not allowed to leave our hotel? No, I'm not going to sign up on this. So there's a lot of NBA players that are now waffling on coming back.
And that's kind of disappointing. But, the players that will never waffle are the ones that are superstars on the teams that are really going to legitimately win. LeBron's not going to come out and say he's not going to play. I bet Kawhi Leonard's not going to come out and say I'm not going to play. I bet best player on the Bucks, Giannis, isn't going to come out and say I'm not going to play.
Well, they have something to play for.
Right. It's everyone else, and you need someone to play. But the people that are legitimately have a shot to win a championship are like, let's go, guys.
Look, I understand from the player's perspective. Okay, you're going to put us in a bubble in Orlando. Define a bubble. Are you saying that we have to stay in our hotel? Are you saying that we're not allowed to do anything?
No one said. I didn't know. Did anyone say like your families can't stay in that hotel with you? Because immediate family has never been a concern when it comes to COVID-19. You're allowed to be around your immediate family. Social distancing not really that important.
Okay, but here, let me draw you a picture here, Anthony. So let's say the kids and the wife are going to be joining the basketball player in Orlando, and you're going to be quarantined in Orlando. That's basically the equivalent of putting a candy bar just away from the reach of a child and just leaving it there and having the child not get off of his or her seat to go grab the thing, but you have to reach as far as you can to grab this candy bar. You're not going to get the candy bar. The candy bar in this particular scenario is Disney World. You are not going to go to Disney World.
What it is, to use your metaphor, is putting the candy bar there and saying, I'm going to leave the room for 2 minutes. Don't touch this candy bar until I come back. Because Walt Disney World is going to be open. There's going to be a time when they get to go to Walt Disney World.
No, there's not, because they're quarantined.
After the season.
Okay.
Every player's going to take their kid to Disney World.
Of course.
So it's the equivalent of putting a candy bar there, telling the kid, I'm going to leave for 10 minutes or whatever. Don't touch this candy bar until I get back. Instant gratification compared to waiting for what you're going to get. If you wait, you're going to get it. If you try to get it before I get back, you won't get it.
Explain that scenario to a 9-year-old when Disney World is outside of their hotel, and the mommy has to listen to the kid. Why aren't we going to Disney World right now? Why do we have to stay in a hotel room?
Hey, to find ways to make the hotel room fun. Kids are easily entertained. I'll tell them that. You could go and Mick Jagger a hotel game, and you can keep their attention for a couple hours. But like I said, the study has been done with that. It's actually been in the news lately
absolutely.
with putting the candy there and saying, don't touch this until I get back, and then coming back and seeing what kids touch it and what kids don't. And the larger percentage are the kids that wait to get it. They might kind of fiddle with it or turn it or look at it, but the kids that don't actually grab it and need it before the parents get back are actually in the higher percentile. So they might be, if you tell them we're going to go to Disney World at some point, it's just not right now, they might be able to sit back and avoid that instant gratification.
And then at some point, and boy, we're going to go down the rabbit hole here, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole, including with including with the players.
Forget the rabbit hole. We're going down the Mickey Mouse hole.
Well, okay, that too. All right. So as we go, this is Mickey Mouse. If we're going down that rabbit hole, mouse hole, duck hole, goofy hole, whatever.
Gorg.
When is a kid going to be rooting against his or her father to lose, so the kid goes to Disney World? Hey, Dad, go get your ass kicked so we can go to Disney World. Well, I'm tired of waiting on you. The playoffs aren't for, the championship round is in another 2 weeks, and I want to go to Disney World. Go out and get your ass kicked in this series so you can take me to Disney World.
Dad,
that's what we're coming to.
Dad, you're not winning a championship. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah. He said, Dad, you have no chance at winning a championship. I want to see Goofy, Dad. Just seriously, you're going to have kids turning on their fathers. That's not good. I can't have that. That's not good. At least the National Hockey League is gonna be true to their word,
right? And
so that's all good.
And they're playing in Buffalo, so no kids gonna be looking at their
Well, actually, they're not playing in Buffalo. Buffalo's not even on the list,
what
which
cities?
they should be.
What
Pittsburgh.
Cities? Pittsburgh. So a kid's not going to be looking out of their hotel room in Pittsburgh and saying, let's go to the Carnegie Science Museum.
Well, I mean, you might have a couple of kids that are science crazy.
There's no Disney World outside.
No, there is no Disney World in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I mean, unless you want to count the number of one-way streets and bridges.
Right.
I mean, that could be your own game within a game in that city. Or, better yet, try to teach someone how to get out of Pittsburgh. Getting into Pittsburgh, no problem. Fort Pitt Tunnel, and then after you get out of the tunnel, the oyster is yours. Somehow, trying to get out of the city of Pittsburgh and finding that road that goes into the Fort Pitt Tunnel, you have to have a PhD in something in order to do it. Because without the use of the phone and the MapQuest, there's no way in hell I'm able to do it.
The last time we were in Pittsburgh was this fall for pit volleyball, and even with the GPS, we missed a turn to get on the ramp that would take us out of Pittsburgh. I think 2 or 3 times. It's super confusing, and if you miss it, there's no quickly getting back to it. You got to go around the block and you got to find your way back to it. So it's hard to get out of there if you don't know where you're going.
No, it definitely is. You got to have a PhD in something to get out of Pittsburgh. Maybe a PhD in Yinzer to get out of Pittsburgh. But I'll tell you what that is. It's a beautiful city.
Beautiful city once you get into it.
Once you get into the city, it's a beautiful city. And I have a really good friend of mine who lives on the north side of town that is a walking distance to Heinz Field, PNC. Just an absolutely gorgeous neighborhood, and love the city. But getting out of that city, oh my God, it's one of the worst things in the world.
Right.
To do. You can get out of Cleveland, no problem, and getting into Cleveland, not really that big of a problem. But man, getting out of Pittsburgh, good God. So that's something that you better have an advanced degree in something to get out of that city. All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. B-League starting yesterday. Again, I talked a little bit about it. I had 2 games that I umpired, 2 14U games, and neither one of the games were finished by the end of the 2 hours. And Richie called up with a really interesting point and something that I know that kids are going to do this, yes. and we saw it yesterday. When you have a lead, I mean, all of a sudden, when a game is now dictated by a clock, when you have a lead, you have a golden opportunity to seriously milk some things.
Yep.
And if a kid is slowly making their way out into the field to warm up and whatnot, not much you can do about it.
Now, you have to implement a time in between innings that you have to be ready to go, and then you have to have a consequence if you don't meet that time. That's the only way you're gonna stop that.
The only consequence that I would love to see is you get a run taken away from you. And I know that's probably not going to happen.
I kind of like the adding balls to the count.
Yeah, but if you're down by 3 runs, it doesn't matter if there's balls because you're trying to get outs. Right. If you're going to do that, then let's replace the ball with all right. First. No, you're out. Oh. First person's out.
I thought you meant the team on defense is the one being slow.
Yeah, if the team on defense is slow and they have a lead.
Yeah. Put a runner on first?
No, you don't put a runner on first.
Yeah,
you tell that
they don't want to run on first with one out.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you put a runner on at first. There you go. Put a runner at first, and then if you're really slow, okay, let's put 2 guys on.
Right.
And we'll go from there.
They'll start speeding up real fast.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're up by 7 runs, is it really going to hurt to have the bases loaded and nobody out? And then finally someone steps to the plate. I don't know. It depends. I mean, for me personally, I'm good with that. If someone sits here and they know that they have a lead and they know that time is starting to run out, okay, then we're just going to milk the clock. And maybe, and I'll be guilty of this. I told the umpires, not the umpires, both coaches, we're an hour in. And then you'd yell out how much time is left. Yeah. Maybe umpires shouldn't do that.
That's another thing. I mean, you have to do the best you can to not have the kids know where you are on the time frame.
Yeah. And then unfortunately, the managers have a clock. They know what's going on. So they're and I'm not saying that they would ever tell the players to slow it down. But, if you have a lead and you know that the game is official, depending on where you are in the game, if you know it's official, you're tempted, or at least you're going to be tempted, to slow it down. You're going to be tempted to say, hey, all right, we're not going to get the 7 innings in, so let's slow it down a little bit and milk this, and we'll get a win this way.
From your perspective as the umpire, just as a baseball perspective, how was the baseball this weekend that you saw? Were the pitchers pretty rusty? How was the hit? Were they timing people up pretty well? I mean,
the 14U games, the pitchers were rusty.
Yeah,
they were, and like I said, I expanded my strike zone, which I would not do for a 16U or an 18U game. I would not expand my strike zone, but 14U. I expanded my strike zone. It was the first time out, and you're going to have to, throw strikes. If you want the game to be quick paced, pitcher's got to work quick, and the pitcher has to throw strikes. Now, and this is just my opinion. This is not an opinion I don't think that would be shared by many umpires in B League. I don't know this. I'm just going to share my opinion. I think that the home plate umpire it should probably be calling balls and strikes from behind the pitcher's mound in a 14U game anyway. I think that you can do the game from behind the pitcher's mound at 14U and have a better idea of expanding the strike zone from that perspective. If you're looking to expand your strike zone at 14U, again, the strike zone should be the 18 inches on home plate. If any part of the ball touches the black, it's a strike. So essentially, you're giving about an inch.
The whole river.
You're giving about an inch, however thick the ball is. Depending on how small of the baseball touches the black part of the plate, that's called a strike. My thing was, I'm going 2 inches off of the plate, and any ball that comes near the 2 inch mark, bang, you got a strike. because otherwise we'd have been there all night long with guys not hitting the strike zone. It wasn't very good. That's why we expanded the strike zone, or at least I did, for a little bit. But I think, for my own personal opinion, I think at 14U, you can call a game from behind the pitcher's mound and not have a problem. We had a pretty good system, the partner and I, where the first base line is covered. I can tell from the third base line, from my vantage point, on whether a ball was fair or foul. So we had the lines covered, we had the bases covered, and the game went pretty swimmingly.
Were there any close plays where you felt like it was a little bit harder to get into position or anything like that?
No. It was good. I mean, it was a well-oiled machine for something that we'd never done before. It was a well-oiled machine, and frankly, I don't mind being behind the pitcher's mound for a 14U game. Now, 16U and 18U under normal circumstances, no, I got to be behind the plate.
Have to ask, was there any limping or waddling on Friday after that 40-yard dash? Because you told DJ there would not be any waddling, and he didn't quite believe you. So Friday night.
Look, I was good. I was good. Saturday, I did 4 games, and I'll be honest, when I came home on Saturday, I was really, really hurting. I stayed off my feet the entire night on Saturday. I got a very nice night's sleep. Tylenol was my best friend this weekend.
Yep.
And, I feel good. I feel good. Now, when I get off this chair, it's not so good for the first, 10 or 15 steps. You feel it, but after that, everything is good.
And then you got some sunburn on you too. So.
Well, that's some sunburn.
Did you wear sunblock?
No.
Oh well.
Well, it's my own doing.
Yep.
And again, I'm stubbornly have said Italians don't burn. Well, apparently we do.
That aloe lotion, and if I ever when I get sunburn, oh, it's so good. The aloe.
Yeah,
it's almost like a blue gel.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put some on my ears of all things, because they're very red. So yeah, we'll have to do that. I didn't want to put some on because then you'd have the disgusting stuff in the headphones, and that's not what you want to do.
Very courteous to our host of the Power Hour.
Well, exactly. I got to be courteous to the host of the Power Hour because who's normally?
It's DJ.
All right.
So,
well, yeah. So I got to be courteous to him because he signs my paychecks. So you got to be courteous to the person that signs your paychecks.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. That's not going to happen. So there you go. I got games on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yep, you'll be up at scene 1.
And I got to figure out who's playing. Where do we go for that information, by the way?
We had the schedules put out this weekend, so I don't know if the Class B website has a breakdown of the fields and what's going to be on each field at each time.
Are we guaranteed of 18U, or is it just any game?
It'll either be 16U or 18U, I believe, on scene 1.
All right. Well, there you go. So we will, at some point in time, we'll know who's playing on Tuesday, and I'll let everyone know what games we will be doing, or we being myself, what game I will be doing, or games.
You're going to be the play-by-play, the director, the technical director, and the producer all in one. So.
There you go. So hit a few buttons and let some cameras do a couple of things.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be kind of fun.
Pay the bills a little bit.
Yeah, pay the bills. Let the cameras do whatever the camera wants to do, and all the while do a play-by-play. So hopefully, if Brownie takes advantage of this. He'll do the play. He can just do the play-by-play, and I'm just going to push buttons and go from there, and then we'll just call it a day.
If there's no baseball, that's becoming more and more of a could be possibility.
No, there's going to be baseball.
There is, but it's going to be detrimental to the future of baseball because, like we said before, if Manfred comes out and imposes a season, it's going to hurt the future.
I think it will. I think it definitely will.
Because the MLBPA is going to file a grievance probably.
Yep.
And then you're going to have a lot of trouble.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we have a lockout next year. And we'll just
then
go
after
from there.
2021, there's a CBA. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we might not even have baseball in 2022.
It's horrible.
Let's not think about that.
Yeah, to say the least, it's horrible, and they've done this to themselves. Both sides have completely done this to themselves, and it just a pox on both of the communities. A pox on the players, a pox on the owners. Both of you have screwed this one up. And, more of the owners than the players, but both of you have screwed this up.
A pox?
A pox.
I've never heard that one.
A pox on both of you.
Like a chicken pox?
No, I'm just a pox of saying
pox.
the hell with the both of you. I'm trying to be noble by saying a pox on both of you.
A pox on both of you.
Yeah, it's more of a British thing.
Yes.
It's a pox on both of you.
Pox on both of you.
Yeah, it's a pox on you
Hello,
and a pox
Governor.
on you. Hello. Yeah.
Spot of tea with the jelly.
Yeah, it's a pox on both of the
Oh, look at this.
organizations. Yeah, horrible.
Ooh.
What's
shiny?
Do you honestly think I'm going to be able to get fit into one of these things?
Yep.
This ain't going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now.
$20 for sale. Let them know.
So we're gonna sport these.
Okay.
Take that.
For folks wondering what is going on, the YSN hats are here.
We're like, I feel like HSN.
YSN. Here we go. So the real test of this, Anthony, do some talking here.
Oh yeah, now we're gonna have
the real
to see
test
if
of this is going to be right
it
here.
will fit on.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that!
And it's comfy, isn't it?
It's close. It's about as close as I'm going to get.
It looks good on you.
Nice.
It's as close as I'm going to get to something that fits without a fitted cap. So, and I got it on the extreme end. So
the last.
Yeah, the last one, and I can hear the last button going, "Help me! Help me!" Yeah. So the YSN hats are in,
and they're on sale for $20 on the website. So
Well, it pickup only.
pickup only,
Pickup only. So get them while they last. We got about 30 of them.
So you just send a message to us on any platform, tell us you want to pick them up, and then head down to HQ and we'll have one ready for you.
You only ordered 30?
Yeah, we wanted to test it out.
Oh, okay. This is a test item.
Yep.
All right, so this is a test item right here. Here you go.
They're sharp.
YSN hats. They are here, $20, and you have to come down here to pick them up. So if you want a YSN hat, by all means, that is something that we can definitely do. But again, there's only 30 of them, so what the hell is this? HSN hour?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So we got all kinds of stuff. So,
all right, so you get the mugs.
So the mugs are 12. They're a little higher priced, but they are nice. They're called campfire mugs. They're solid. We got blue and white, and we also have red. And we also have these shirts. We're calling them the plain Jane shirts. You can have the blue YSN word mark across, or you can go kick it old school and throw the shield on in red. So we're excited about that. And grab yourself a hat. Get a whole wardrobe for summer right here at YSN headquarters.
I want to know when the running point material is coming out.
Listen, he told me a couple weeks ago we're close. So he's working on the graphics, and,
all right.
and we'll go from there. The Pono shirt is going to be the first out. That has to be the first out.
Oh, Lord. We haven't even taken that picture yet.
No, we're waiting until the shirt comes out.
This iconic picture of a bat on my shoulders, holding up a bat on both sides with shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tiniest shoulder pads we can find.
We're
working on that right now.
Yeah, that's just wrong on so many levels.
But it'll be so sweet.
Oh no, it'll be interesting to say the least. It'll be interesting.
This weekend has proved that people love content featuring Ron Potesta. I mean,
yes,
the responses we've had of the 40-yard dash.
Oh, I mean, we had
it's kind of a cross between Frankenstein and Deion Sanders.
I loved it. I mean, people just everywhere I went, they said, "How did you come up with?" Or first off, it was, how did you make Ron Podesta run? And I said,
There was me do anything.
There was Lorna Doones on the line. Let's not fib.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to do it with or without Lorna Doones, but that's okay.
Well, that was part of your great negotiating because I thought that was only going to happen with the
No, I would have done it without the Lorna Doones.
But you did well. You did fantastic.
Well, I mean, I ran. I can't say that I did well. I wanted to go under 7, which basically tells me how old I am. So there you go.
I ran 10:40s last night, and I was feeling every bit of my 35 years on this earth. I ran at about 9 o'clock. So
why were you running 10:40s?
That's just my workout that I do. I like for days that I do back and by, I do hill sprints and just straights in the park. And then for days that I do tris and chest, I'll do 10 push-ups and then jog 10 yards and then sprint 40. So it's crazy.
It's nice to be in your mid-30s. I didn't do that stuff in my mid-30s. I just drank beer and whatever.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, make sure that thank you guys for all you do, and obviously push the hats and the shirts and the mugs because people want them. But you got to come to YSN headquarters, and now that Corona seems to be bowing out, we're able to have you guys come and pick them up. Had people pick them up last week, so it was pretty neat. Now you can pick up your hats.
$20 for the hat.
10 for the t-shirts.
10
12
for the t-shirts, and 12 for the mugs.
Campfire mug, 14 ounce, so it can hold, I think, 2 cups of coffee, I think, is what that boils down to. So,
really?
Yeah. I think the average cup of coffee, I think they said is 7 ounces. So, if you fill it to the tippy top, you got 14 ounces.
That's a deep mug then.
It's very.
See, now I got to get one of those so I can take it home and have my coffee.
There you go.
Or leave it here, and look. This is a sports show, and I understand this is a sports show, but our coffee selection over there. Oh my God. Oh my goodness!
Courtesy of Sarah Yoakley.
It's very nice. I would like to add just Dunkin' Donuts plain coffee.
Okay.
So we're gonna do that.
You ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, no, I'll take care of. I'll take care of that. I'll go to Dunkin' and I'll pick up the. You don't have to flip for that. I can grab my coffee and then we'll just go from there. But
you were raving about the coffee the other day.
I'm normally not a Starbucks person. Starbucks is too hip for me.
Okay. It's too millennial.
It's too millennial, and the coffee pretty much tastes like crap.
That's
the regular coffee. The regular coffee.
That's an opinion.
This particular coffee, which was vanilla bean.
Starbucks vanilla. Yep.
I loved that coffee. That was really good.
You did the few like. You had it all the way up, and you were. This is tasty. You had it Starbucks.
Yeah, and normally I'm not a Starbucks fan. I knew that was Starbucks when I put it in. I was like, oh, well, this could get interesting.
I've got to show my cards a little bit. From a previous life, I have a few friends at Starbucks that take care of myself, my wife, and now, well, they're not allowed to drink it yet, but the girls. And they always give us the freshest stuff. So that's coming straight from Seattle, wherever that is coming from originally. So that's the best of the best. So kudos to my buddy Tommy out in Seattle taking care of us and the folks at Starbucks. I think your coffee's fantastic. Ron, he likes the vanilla stuff, but I don't think you've really had, until you've had Starbucks in Seattle.
The way it's supposed to be.
The way it is supposed to be pressed. And they do a great job because, I don't know if anybody knows this, Starbucks, there's no franchises anywhere in the United States. They're all straight corporate Starbucks.
Yes.
Which is very cool.
Yes.
Because when you get to franchises sometimes, you can get watered down versions of things because it's easier to save $1 or $2 by doing this.
Exactly.
This. Starbucks never does that. And that's one of the things that really impressed me about being around them and them showing me the process. I was just trying to sell them advertising. And they showed me, we had a coffee tasting, we had with their entire marketing team. So it was very cool. I made some lifelong friends and guys that not only served in our military, but now serve for Starbucks in their military division, and help our military families do great things and take care of them. Because, as they say in the military, one person really serves, but the entire family serves.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. No, I like, and let me backtrack a little bit on this. Their black coffee is disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like any black coffee.
Not a fan of it at all.
I'm not.
But I do like their iced mocha.
Yes.
I do like their iced mocha, especially when you have the whipped cream on the top.
Yep.
And now that puts
the
more,
calories.
That puts more pounds on Potesta, and nobody likes a fat Potesta. That's why I'm trying to skinny it down a little bit, which is why I don't drink it that often. But I do like their iced mochas. My ex was a huge fan of the caramel macchiatos.
Yeah. Wonderful sugar.
Which I looked at her and I was like, Kazoon tight,
Yeah.
whatever.
Macchiato.
I'm like, okay, drink whatever the hell that is, and okay. But, if I'm going straight, regular coffee, put French vanilla, sugar-free on it, give me Dunkin', give me McDonald's, give me Sheetz.
Yep. You're not picky. You're not picky when it comes to that stuff.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
No.
I'm a big fan, and it's $1. So the large vanilla iced coffee from McDonald's, to me, is where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, I could drink that any time of day. Drink it for a pre-workout. Drink it, like, calming down. Caffeine doesn't affect me. Because I've been having it my entire life.
Yeah.
So the only type of caffeine are like pre-workouts that really get me going, that like make my face tingle. There's so much caffeine that you think that you're having an out-of-body experience.
Probably not a good thing.
It's probably not, but when you're on a treadmill, man, you're ready to go. Like that's my influence. But yeah, like the Starbucks, they have the higher priced items, but it's because they use such good stuff in their drinks.
Yeah.
They're not using the low grade sugar, the low grade creamer, that stuff. Like, you taste a little bit more high society when you're drinking Starbucks. Dunkin' Donuts I like too. I really do. But I can't, for some reason, I can't just get a coffee when I go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, no, you got to go and get one of their donuts.
Or like these things, whatever they call them.
Yeah, the Munchkins.
Yeah, the Munchkins. I'm done. Like,
see, I feed the Munchkins to Buster.
Look at you.
Buster gets
big spender.
And this is probably why Buster is fat. Buster, every once in a while, not every day, I would run out of money that way. Buster, every once in a while, I'll go take him to Dunkin', and when he gets in the car, he knows he's making a trip to Dunkin'. So he's already, if I say, you want to go bye-bye in the car, ears are up, tail's wagging, he goes right into the car. So we go into Dunkin', and I say, the Munchkins, and they have to be they can't be anything but the
glazed.
Yeah. That's the only thing that I'll have him eat. So I get him the glazed Munchkins, and if this were a bag, he would be like, doing one of those things.
That's a gif.
Yeah, doing one of those things. So I'd have to take one out, feed it to him. Life is great. My dog loves Munchkins from Dunkin'.
Our dogs eat better than I do at home. My wife takes such good care of our dogs, and it sounds like you're in the same boat. You make sure that your dog's fed well, and is getting that human food. Now, we've been warned that human food is like terrible for dogs' teeth and all that stuff. So you have to be very careful how much of it you get. But with 2 little girls at home, we haven't had to feed them since October because they just drop everything. Like, pretty much my girls could play for the Cleveland Browns right now because they drop everything.
Wow.
Everything. And there's only this far to go between their hand and their mouth, and it's like, whoop.
Yeah.
Straight down. I was like, well.
And you get the cleanest floors because the dogs are there to.
No, I don't subscribe to that rule. Like, I'm gonna let the dog kiss you, like, whatever. But the floors, you can see it. Like, we have it's not hardwood, it's that trying to think, the fake wood floors, right?
Yeah.
And you can see where the dogs lick, and I'm like, ew, like, gross to me because the light hits it, and you're like, ugh.
That's where you got to get the little mop and whatnot. And
Swiffer.
We have this mop, and
the Swiffer.
Yeah, we have it here that you like hit the butt or the thing, kick it,
Yeah.
and it like wrings it out real quick.
Yeah.
So we've actually, the girls like wringing it out, and then I can mop.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't mind mopping. My wife doesn't mind mopping. We actually brought one for here too, because of the floors.
I absolutely love the Swiffers. It's one of those things where you have the little pad underneath, hit a button,
the wet jet.
The wet jet comes out, and you just start mopping the floor and stuff. And you know, when you're done, you're seeing all this disgusting crap underneath where the pad is. And I'm like, ooh,
You start second guessing the 5-second rule.
Yeah, you no longer have the 5-second rule essentially. So yeah, that unless it's chocolate, but there you go. The other, if we're gonna go donuts for a second, yeah, this is a sports show. Go figure. Tim Horton.
A couple things.
Love Tim Hortons.
Number one, Canadian. So
it's all right. I love Canada.
I kind of shy away from it. I want to sponsor. I want to have America first. But it's not local. Like, not that Dunkin' is, but they're not super hyper locally focused, and that bothers me a little bit. I'd rather have like the Sprinkles in East Palestine, Orams in PA, unbelievable. Orams with the giant cinnamon rolls.
Is that over in the plaza? If you go into Chippewa?
No. It's in Beaver Falls. So you're downtown Beaver Falls.
Gotcha.
Past the McDonald's, and it's on your left side.
Gotcha.
And if you ever have a chance to check out Orams, it's where it's at. Like, I would fight somebody for a donut from Orams. I mean, I'd throw hands.
They're that much better than Dunkin'?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're life changing.
Now, are they that much better than blueberry donuts at White House?
I'm gonna say this, and there's a lot of people that are gonna not agree with me.
Okay, here we go.
They have very similar donuts to the blueberry style.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the cake, my goodness, like when you eat a cake donut from Walmart, like a prepackaged one or whatever, like that's what their expectation is. You eat a cake donut from Orams, and it is cake. It is legit. It is like a pound. Like you pick it up and you're like weightlifting to get it to your mouth. So
all right, long before we get all of this weight off, we should have done this earlier. I believe a donut contest is in order.
How many? Like how many you eat, or?
No, I mean getting people to. To bring donuts in here and we judge.
Wait, I'm starting to understand the way this goes.
Yeah.
People bring donuts in and Ron Potesta judges how good.
I mean, is there any other way to do this? I mean, let's be honest here.
I would say, I think people would want to see a donut eating contest.
Oh, hell no.
Because you don't see that very often. You see hot dogs.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, this 4th of July, I think we're going to do our own little hot dog eating contest.
That's disgusting.
You can be the judge.
I'll be the judge on that one. That
I can't.
I can't do it. I can't do that.
So, my little girl is 29 pounds.
All right.
The other night, she told Mama Yoakley, she says, I don't want any tater tots. I want corn dogs. She's 3. All she wanted was corn dogs. She ate 3 full-sized, man-sized corn dogs, and I've never been more proud of my life.
Nice.
Like, I was so jacked because she set out a goal. She wanted to have as many corn dogs. She's like, don't waste my time with tater tots, which when you're little, tater tots are like...
Tater tots are good?
That's it, right?
All right, tater tots are good.
So she said, I'm holding off on the tater tot. In her own little words, in her own little voice, she said, no tater tots. I just want corn dogs because corn dogs are delicious. Now, she just goes straight ketchup, the way Daddy does it.
All right.
And she just houses the corn dog. Now, the other one, ate so dainty, peeled off the cornbread off of the hot dog.
Yeah.
Ate the cornbread first and then attacked the hot dog. And she had one. And I was like, but it took her so long to eat the one corn dog that I think she was just so, tired but the other one was crushing it. And I was so proud. So that was a proud moment for me. And the competitor, I might, if we're doing corn dog eating contest down here, I might sign her up. Because I think she could take a couple of us.
I can't do the hot dog eating.
You don't
contest.
like hot dogs?
I mean, I like them, but I
not gonna
can't.
cram them
I can't cram them down like that. No way.
I
I look at people when they do that. And I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Who do you think, out of all the talent for YSN, could win a hot dog eating contest?
Oh, jeez. I'm going to go with Munson.
That's a good one. I bet he could eat the hot
I
dogs.
would not bet against Thorny.
That's also a good one.
I wouldn't bet against Thorny. Steve Leslie is a dark horse in that
I've seen
too.
Quinn eat.
Steve would be one hot dog and done. Because he would be too busy talking about.
Well, that's
talking to
true.
everybody else.
I mean, if the talking is it, and he puts his mind to it, that could I could see. That's good.
I've seen Quinn eat.
Just a
and
Reminder: Quinn is doing the 10,000 calorie challenge this Friday.
Quinn dislocates his jaw
like a snake.
Like a snake.
That would be interesting.
Like
to,
I think Quinn's gonna have a hard time eating for a month after he does this Friday.
I don't understand why anyone would go 10,000 calories.
It started with the
All for
MLO
the
brothers,
content. All right.
and they want to do things that are out of the box and content, like we call it here. They want to do stuff that draws attention to them, and they're doing a great job with it. They're getting a lot of good interviews and a lot of good guests. But then this whole thing started 10,000 calories, and they saw it on YouTube, and it became a little bit of a thing on YouTube during the coronavirus. And now we're post-virus, and we sit there and we go, are we really going to do this? Because we put it out there, and people are expecting this. And apparently D-Day is on Friday. So we're going to be at local spots. Handles is one of the spots we're going to be going. C's Waffles is where we start out. Trying to think the place downtown. The downtown Youngstown, the Federal. I think we're
okay.
So,
all right.
So there's a bunch. They're gonna have a giant Cinnabon from Molnar's.
Oh wow!
So that's right after C's Waffles. So the total calorie count should be 10,006 for the day. And
I mean, that's a lot of food.
It is a lot of food.
Just to remind people, the recommended calorie for a day is about 2,000.
Heavy.
So.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
so
recommended.
So you're going 5 times the recommended amount of calories that you're supposed to have.
Now Luke can probably handle it. Isaac just got engaged this weekend, so I think there's a little bit of concern for him. And then Quinn, I've seen him eat food, so I know that he can do it. He's gonna whine about it the entire time, but he's gonna do it. And he's. I think we get 2 handles, and that last pint of ice cream is gonna put him away.
The whole pint?
I think it's a pint. I think it's a pint of ice cream.
How many calories is a whole pint of chocolate ice cream?
I think it was it's either 600 or 400. I forget what it was.
It's got to be more than that.
No, it was the final thing was 600 or 400.
All right.
So
I got to believe it's like 600 then.
Yeah, I would think, but I think they're allowed to get whatever flavor they want, but different flavors accumulate different calories. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. They had, I think it was butter pecan they had listed.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I would have to say I got to have chocolate ice cream.
I would have to do what do they call it? Twist at Dairy Queen. I would have to do half and half because
half vanilla, half chocolate.
I wouldn't
All
be
right.
able, or you do, is it Neapolitan?
Yeah,
that's chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. I wouldn't be able to do just one flavor because I'd be so bored with it.
Oh, I've eaten a whole pint of ice cream many times. So, yeah, I do one chocolate ice cream handles. I can eat a whole pint of that.
I'm just excited to go to Handles. Like I get to be the cameraman and just eat kind of whatever I want.
Oh yeah, no.
So
and now that they're open, give me the waffle cone and then let's have some fun here.
I like the cake batter.
Cake batter
and Handles. Oh.
There you go. There you go.
So I mean, the food is a process in sports. Food is a huge part of sports because you talk about tailgating, you talk about being at a game, hot dogs, whatever. But here at YSN, it's a way of life. It is how we roll. So there's a lot of trading that goes on with advertising. So if you have good food and you want some advertising, the easiest way to get involved is a little bit of trade. Pizza Joe's hooks us up all the time.
Yes, they do.
Fastest way to YSN's heart is
through our stomach.
And let me just throw out Richardson French fries that we see every year at the Canfield Fair.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fair food.
Are you a vinegar guy? Vinegar and salt? No.
I'll do the salt, but I shouldn't because I got high blood pressure. But you got to have that.
Salt and vinegar is where it's
You got to have that. You got to have that.
I go. My trick with the salt and vinegar is I spray the vinegar until somebody gives me an awkward look.
Yeah.
Right. They're just kind of like the how much vinegar are you going to put on
Yeah.
that?
Do you want some fries with that vinegar?
And then I do 5 more squirts and I put it down.
Yeah.
So like, my wife has caught on to this trick. I try to make people awkward when I put the vinegar on.
Yeah.
So there's days where it's so much vinegar, like it's like a cup of vinegar, and then fries are like soaking in it. But I said, listen, I've never had a bad experience with fries, vinegar, and salt. Just never.
There you
had
go.
it. So
there you go. No, my parents told me I think it was last weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before. So there was just a gigantic crowd at the Canfield Fairgrounds, and I was like, why? Oh, the fair food was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That'll bring out a gigantic crowd.
yeah, and that's a situation that people don't really think about. Is those people? That's their entire business. A lot
Yeah,
of times.
absolutely it is.
And the fairs have been shutting down left and right.
Now they haven't shut Canfield down yet.
No, but there's guidelines.
They're gonna wait.
There's tight guidelines, and there's going to be, what I understand, there's going to be no big concerts, anything
Oof.
like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. You have to err on the side of caution and safety. We've had to do it for baseball. I think you guys talked about it a little bit. Like, that's been crazy. Just all of this has been nuts, and it's a new way of life. Hopefully it doesn't stand up the test of time. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully it's this year, and that's it. And everybody looks at 2020 and goes, yeah, we're done. We never want to even address 2020 ever again. Like, hopefully it never even ends up in history books, which, unfortunately, it will. There's going to be a giant chapter in history, whatever they do. They don't even have books anymore. They're iPads. But that chapter is a long, long, long lesson.
I think we should just start over and have New Year's Eve on June the 30th and have a gigantic New Year's Eve party.
2020
and
and a
just say 2020 half. The first half was obviously a nightmare of epic proportions. And we should have a New Year's Eve party on June the 30th. Everyone have whatever you're going to do on December 31st.
Yeah.
Do on June the 30th, which, let me take a look at my calendar here real quick. I got to look at the calendar real quick. June the 30th is a Tuesday. All right, whatever. And it's the summertime.
Everybody takes Wednesday off.
And everyone takes Wednesday off, which is July the 1st. Hell, you might as well take the rest of the week off because the 4th of July. The 4th of July is going to be on the
Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday. So just take the rest of the week off and go from there. Have your New Year's Eve
You just have
party
answers for everything.
on June
I
the
love
30th.
it. I love that you have answers for every aspect, and it's just done.
That's it. Done. As a matter of fact, that's what we're going to do here. I'm not going to be here July 1st or July 3rd.
Done.
I'm having a New Year's Eve
Done.
party, and everyone's invited. I
Make
don't know
sure-
where the hell we're going to do this.
We can have right here at headquarters. Just
I think
make sure
that's-
you send it out. You send out the invites, and we'll make sure that RSVP.
I think we probably should have done that about a month and a half ago in order for this to be.
Well, you had time
pretty
to do
solid.
it.
Well, I didn't think of it until just now. I'm sorry. You know.
You sound like everybody now. Oh well, I didn't think about it until just
I
now.
didn't think about it until just now. I'm just saying.
Hey, we got 3 fields at scene. We only have 2 cameras. Well, we didn't think about it till now. We were just trying to hang out through the coronavirus.
Look, I think it's going to be pretty cool. You know, you have your tight picture of watching the sweat on the pitcher grow
Glisten.
exponentially when when the base runners are on. And then you have the wide picture.
I like it. I like it a lot. I wasn't sure if and Brian was the one that did this. We can actually add 2 more cameras if we really wanted to, which for playoffs we might, because everything's going to be on 1. So I think that we'll start with 2. We'll see how it goes. If we're running 4 cameras, I think we can run 2 cameras and be the talent, the producer, the director, the guy that runs commercials, the guy that does promos. I think we can do that. You're talented enough. If I can do it, I know Ron can do it.
Hit a button, hit a button,
One,
hit
two.
a button, hit a button,
That's
hit
all
a
it
button.
is. Just
Buttons everywhere.
You're like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
So-
All I know is if Greg Brown agrees to doing a game,
We'll have somebody there.
there you go.
We'll have somebody there.
There you go.
I'll be there.
Okay.
And I'll shine his shoes, and
Yeah.
I'll do whatever he needs me to
Yeah,
do.
there it is. There it is. I knew this was going to... Do you know how much crap I got from people when we put Brown on? And they looked at me and they said, how did you not have DJ ask him something sooner? I'm like, well, I was interviewing him.
Did you see? I was smiling. I was starstruck.
Oh, yeah.
And I kept looking at you like, I don't know if he's actually going to come over to me, and I don't care.
Well, no, I was going to,
Yeah.
but I wanted to ask the questions before at the end of the interview,
I
I
thought
knew
the
that he
interview-
was.
I thought it went well. I really do.
Yeah, but everyone was giving me crap going, well, why didn't you let DJ ask him a question? DJ was here just to hear the interview.
That's all I wanted.
And then at the end of it, we were going to have some fun with him.
Yeah, I was excited. I mean, you asked him stuff about baseball. I asked him stuff about him. Like that's you.
Yeah.
You're interested in the baseball aspect. I'm interested in what he does and how he takes his trash out and if he calls his own plays.
There you go.
He responded to me on Twitter, which I had like. It was like everything we expect the coronavirus to be. It was like that gush of enthusiasm for me when he was here, and then it like calmed down, and then he responded to me on Twitter, and I was right back up to cloud nine. So he clear the trash bin or clear the bin, trash bag coming is what he threw to me on Twitter. And
Clear the bin, trash bag coming.
He's
There you go.
And after he was done, I sat and I probably played it for my wife 13 times, and she's like, "Okay, I have to go to bed now." And I was like. And then I was like, "You go to bed. I'm gonna put my earbuds in and I'm just gonna keep listening."
Play this. We're
Yeah.
just gonna play the whole interview because it was so much fun. So there you go.
You know whose interviews I really enjoy is Tolnar that you do for Mill Creek, and I'm really excited on a weekly basis because he gives so much insight to the game of golf that I think if anybody likes golf at all or isn't a casual fan. He gives so much insight and he makes it sound easy, which is tough on us casual golfers because you get out there and it's so frustrating. But he makes it sound fun, exciting, and the fact that you guys are breaking down the future weekend of golf is very cool. And I'm also excited for you to bring your buddies in from gambling from the
Joe and Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah,
that's gonna be interesting.
And also,
to say the least.
Not to put you on the spot, but we got to give Mr. Rowley on and talk to him about the future of sports gambling in Ohio.
I saw something where they are still, the Senate and the House are still kind of, the House wants one thing, the Senate wants another thing, and they're not really sure how they're going to go about this, but they're hoping to get it done by the end of the year. And I'm like, so kids in Ohio are going to go down to West Virginia or Pennsylvania or Michigan or Indiana to gamble on the National Football League? I mean, you're losing money again.
Well, that's the thing. We've been a leader in so many things for so long, especially with this coronavirus. Now it's time to look at it and say, okay, how can we bring revenue back into the state? Sports gambling, for either side you're on, is a revenue generating opportunity.
It is.
And it's a big one.
Yes, it is.
And we've said many times it's not about betting on the youth games or the high school games, but when you bet on college and pro, there's something to it. And you talk about racing and horse racing and things, which is legal. But you look at the scenario where, listen, if I want to put a bet on a horse, why can't I put a bet on the Steelers? I love the Steelers. If I want to put a bet that Ben's going to throw for 400 and 6 touchdowns and bet my mortgage, I should be able to do that. Now, if you have a gambling problem, you call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, that's it.
But I should. This is America, and one of the freedoms is we should be able to gamble on whatever we want, and it's called gamble for a reason. Right?
And it's interesting that it took so long for the country to figure out, wait a second, why should Las Vegas have all this fun? Why can't we have gambling determined by the state governors or the state government? And the Supreme Court finally, 3 or 4 years ago, said, yeah, absolutely.
And you have to believe that if these casinos and gambling places, I don't even know the correct term is, these books, I guess, they see sports networks out there, you got to think that our demographics, the kind of people they want to reach. So the advertising for us would be through the roof, and we can help promote them to people that love watching sports.
Absolutely.
So for me, that's the personal reason that I can't wait, because that could do a lot of things for us and a lot of stuff for high schools and local organizations here locally that we can do for them.
Look, and Sundays, and I didn't go down to West Virginia every Sunday during the football season, but there were, I'd say, a good 5 or 6 Sundays that I went down to West Virginia with the sole purpose of putting money on football games. Mm-hmm. Perfectly legal. There's a sports book at Mountaineer Park. The problem is, you get over there, it's jam-packed. And then you start reading license plates. Ohio,
Pennsylvania,
Ohio, Ohio,
Pennsylvania
Ohio,
for a while.
Ohio, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Ohio. A high percentage of people at Mountaineer on a sports weekend is from Ohio.
And it's frustrating.
It is. Because that money should be in the state of Ohio, not in West Virginia.
And I hate to get into the topic of banning or legalizing marijuana, but if they're going to legalize marijuana, why can't I drop $100 bet on my favorite team or somebody that I'm going to double down on and get $200? Like, I don't understand the difference. Everybody, I'm not saying that we need to be a free swinging country. What I'm saying is gambling is the least of the problems here in our state. I really do believe that.
I agree with that.
Like there's 6 feet of dirt between the last problem and gambling. You know what I mean? That it is the least of our problems here in Ohio.
What was the one thing that I said on a number of occasions when I filled in for Rivers or Verb, which kind of goes against everything that would ever be said on that station? If you legalized gambling, marijuana, and prostitution,
oh boy,
and taxed everything, our country would be out of debt in 3 months.
Yeah. I'm good with the one. The second one, because I don't use. And the third one,
yeah, I mean, it's not for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, but, the advice is of
I'm just guessing
sorts.
there's probably enough tax with the one with unwritten and uninformed situations that they pay for it enough.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
The other one...
We're not going to get into the particulars of things, but I just flat out said maybe not 3 months, probably closer to a year.
But I'm with you.
But you'd be out of debt within a year because unfortunately, whether people want to buy into this or not, it's the absolute truth.
Yeah, I'm with
There's a lot of gambling going on. There's a lot of people that are smoking weed, and there are a lot of people that use that service.
Let me ask you this.
And it is what it is.
Take it a step further, and if you saw the special last night on steroids, they're like on Barstool, they're doing a steroids home run derby. Who would win if all the guys that took steroids lined up to do a home run derby? Take it a step further and make steroids legal in baseball, but they have to forfeit. Now listen, they have to forfeit 50% of their salary if they want to do it, and it goes back into the kitty for Major League Baseball for playoffs. So you're allowed to do it. You test positive. You don't have to miss 80 games, but you have to pay 50% of your salary into the kitty for the players that win at the end of the year. I think it's interesting. I think
because the argument is if enough people are doing steroids on your team, you should probably be in theory, you should be in the World Series in the playoffs.
Do you think that would work? I don't think that the team that has the most guys on steroids would win.
Being that pitching is the dominant part of the game, unless you have some pitchers on steroids, and again, what would pitching? The steroids for the pitcher wouldn't really help them one way or the other, except for they would stay healthy all year. You're not going to add 5 miles an hour on a fastball using steroids. That's not how that works.
No, that's Tommy John, which is another question that we posed. What's the difference between juicing and getting Tommy John surgery at 18 and your fastball goes up 7 miles an hour?
Well, that's a myth too. I mean, it's not a myth. It's some of it. It depends on how well the surgery was done.
It's each and every. I mean, the same as steroids, where each and every one is a different outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like steroids. If you juice me up right now, I'm not going to go out and hit a ball 470 feet. It's not going to. That's not how steroids works.
Steroids were only available for it, and it was only done for people to get out of the training room, to be on the field, to go 162 games, to put up the ginormous numbers.
Correct.
It wasn't the popular notion that, this guy used steroids, so now he's going to hit home runs left and right. No.
It's for endurance.
It's for endurance. It's not for power.
No.
You know, I heard people go, wow, this guy might have warning track power, and now you'd use him with steroids. Now he's going to hit a ball in the second deck. No, he's not.
I mean, it does give you endurance in the weight room as well, so it will make you a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always – what people don't realize is that doesn't always calculate to the baseball diamond.
No, it doesn't.
So if you bench press a Cadillac like Barry Bonds, yeah, he can hit a baseball 900 feet, but he could do that before. He could do that. They built, was it Pac Bell Park at that point around Barry Bonds. It wasn't built and then Barry Bonds goes, hey, I'm going to go there. Like, he would thrive at PNC. He would thrive at Pac
He'd thrive
Bell.
anywhere.
I mean, relatively short right fields. Boston, things of that nature. Like, if he had to go back and do it again, he'd probably end up in Boston at some point.
And he would thrive anywhere because Barry Bonds was able to consistently put the bat, the good part of the bat, on the ball.
Right.
And he would hit it square.
Hand-eye coordination.
His hand-eye coordination is off the charts.
It was like watching Ken Griffey Jr. before Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, that's what it was like. And then he started breaking down a little bit with injuries, and that's when all of a sudden he started bulking up. Because stealing bases, he was almost ahead of his time, where stealing bases wasn't necessarily what he needed to do anymore to be a huge impact for your team. He was an RBI guy. So he focused on hitting the ball, bulking up, and hitting the ball further and better and in the gaps. And he did that. And to one point, I would say he did it better than anybody ever has and anybody ever will.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I heard your conversation on Nolan Ryan. One guy that I wish, and he died far too soon, one guy that I really wish was around nowadays, Tony Gwynn. I watched a documentary on him the other day. What just a great guy.
Yes.
A great baseball player.
Yes.
And he wasn't even picked to go to San Diego State to play baseball. He played basketball, and one of the guys that he played in high school said, hey, he was in the recruiting office for baseball, and he said, that's Tony Gwynn. He said, yeah, he's a good basketball player. He's like, that's the best baseball player I've ever played against. So the next week, they talked to the basketball coach, and Tony Gwynn was on San Diego State's baseball team. So he was a two-sport athlete at San Diego State. And to this day, I think he's the best contact hitter and understanding of how to hit that probably has ever walked into a batter's box. And that's
got all of that from Ted Williams.
I agree. And
Yeah.
Pete Rose included in that as well. I like Pete Rose a lot, but I think pound for this is going to be bad. Pound for pound, Tony Gwynn is probably the best hitter of all time because there was and I hate to take up your time, but you look at this and they go, hey, there was a rain delay.
Yeah.
So they end up canceling the game, moved it to the next day.
Yep.
And Tony said to a runner that was on second base was the game-winning run. Tony said, he's going to throw me a slider first pitch when we come back out, and I'm going to hit it into the left field gap. And you're going to score, and we're going to win the game. The first pitch, the next day, pitcher throws a slider. Gwynn knocks it into the left field center gap. Runner comes around the score, and you can see him turning around as he's scoring, just like he is some kind of voodoo guy, like voodoo mama juju, like over there. And, but he knew the pitchers better than the pitchers knew themselves. And he wasn't about home runs. He was about contact and swinging the bat like a lightsaber. Like, bat control was everything to him. So I really wish that he's a guy that I think I'm going to go back at some point on YouTube, wherever I can kind of download his content and just watch him do what he does. Because I was a puppy watching him with him and Kevin Brown for the Padres, and I just didn't know what I was watching at the time. Because everybody talked about big hits. They talked about home runs.
Yeah.
And Gwynn wasn't that guy.
He was old school.
Yep.
I mean, he was old school. I wish I'd have kept a lot of the stuff that I did before I went to minor league baseball and started broadcasting. Because I went to the 96 All-Star game for the sports station in Youngstown that I worked for. Just out of, I don't even know how this happened. I mean, I applied for a credential. MLB, for whatever reason, gave me a credential. Go figure. So I go to Philadelphia. I have a relative that lives outside of Philadelphia. Stayed with them for a couple of days. Didn't have to worry about any hotel. Didn't have to worry about any kind of stuff except for giving them some money to put me up and gas for my car to go back and forth to Philadelphia and the toll roads.
Yeah.
Which before PA jacked the price up to £1 million for 2 miles, whatever. So I'm at Old Veterans Stadium, and Tony Gwynn is hanging out by himself in the National League locker room. And I started talking with him, and I had the recorder turned on. Couple of other journalists come walking in during the middle portion of the interview. 20 minutes. This guy was going 20 minutes all about see the ball, hit the ball. I can see the spin on a curveball. And Ted Williams is 100% right. If I foul a ball off, and I'm smelling the bat to see if you could smell burnt wood, I'm like, God dang, this is unbelievable. But no, he was old school.
He's unreal.
He was a guy. He was a guy that would have been perfect for 1940s, 1950s. 1960s, early 60s
but the thing,
baseball. He was perfect.
But he was old school, but he was ahead of his time.
He was.
You know what I mean?
In some ways. But now, if you put Tony Gwynn in today's lineup, everyone would look at him and go, well, I mean, he's okay, but what does he do?
Well, and that's the... No, I disagree with that. I think they would look at him and say, okay, he's your guy, that because everybody's a role player now. At the time in baseball, in the 90s, there were no role players. It was like people were still trying to figure out what baseball wanted to do. Do they want to be big hitters? They want to be stolen base, all that stuff. Tony Gwynn, he wasn't going to win any bodybuilding awards.
No.
He was the guy the average Joe could get behind, and they go, I love Tony Gwynn, the way he looks, the way he talks, the way he hits, the way he consistently produces. Like, I love guys that hit for average. Love them.
Yeah.
Because they know who they are. They're not trying to outdo themselves by trying to hit a ball 450 feet. Like, yes, that's the chicks dig the long ball. But you know what? Success digs the guy that's consistent. And that's the thing that people realize along their career. Some, like Tony, much sooner than others. But Barry had to make adjustments along his career, or else he wasn't going to have that endurance.
Well, look, there's a story that I've told a couple of times that Barry Bonds was not juicing prior to 1998. He was on the up and up, and during the Bonds during the McGuire and Sosa thing, which we saw on ESPN last night, you saw Sosa go yard a couple of times at Candlestick. Or I think it was Candlestick. It was before. It would
have been Candlestick.
Yeah, it would have been Candlestick. And you saw Bonds with a look of, yeah, this is baloney. Well, there's a reason why he did that. I think it was in July or August of '98. Barry Bonds became the first and to this day the only Major League Baseball player to ever go 400 home runs and 400 stolen bases. Yeah. He did it on a Sunday in San Francisco. He was buried in the sports section because of McGuire and Sosa going back and forth, and everyone hell-bent on who's going to get Maris's record, who's going to wind up winning this thing. Bonds got so pissed off that he just said, okay, you guys want to see a show, I'll do this and I'll put on a show. And a few years later, Barry Bonds put on a show that none of us will ever forget.
Or
unfortunately,
baseball. Here's my other question I got out of that, Ron, and you're a baseball guy, so I'm excited to hear your response. Do you think that baseball will be more lenient on steroids after this year because it's bailed them out so many times in the eyes of the fans?
No. And unfortunately, Trevor Bauer, of all people, had an interesting take on his social media on Twitter, and I don't like him as a player, but he's a fascinating person and fascinating to talk to because he's a brainiac who happens to play baseball. He said, look, I mean, the Hall of Fame is filled with cheaters.
Yep.
Go back prior to the steroid era. You had a steroid era in and of its own self. Guys like Bond, or guys like Mays, Aaron, Clemente, everyone who was in that era took a steroid at some point in time. It was called amphetamines. Mm-hmm. Guys in between games of a doubleheader. Day games after night games. That stuff was passed around like candy during trick-or-treating. And everyone who played baseball took this. At some point in time, they did it. That is an illegal, and it was illegal then.
And everybody knew they were.
And everyone knew that they were doing it because it was plain as day in the clubhouses. Guys that were doing interviews would see the amphetamines.
So do you think that in this day of age of Twitter and social media and everybody knows everything about everybody, Do you think that someday it'll pass to where we'll give these guys a pass?
The Veterans Committee will have to put Bonds and Clemens and whoever else into the Hall of Fame.
I don't think Clemens,
Clemens belongs in the Hall of Fame. I can't stand him, but he belongs in the... Dude won 7 Cy Young Awards and was dominant.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's what he did on the field, but
off the field, he's a D-bag. He's an a-hole. I agree with you.
And I think that Bonds did less damage on the field than Clemens did. Towards the end of his career, Clemens throwing the bat at Mike Piazza, doing all that. Yeah, and you sit there and you go, come on, man. There's no reason for that. There's none. Not in the game. You want to go fight Mike Piazza in a dark alley after the game, that's on you. You want to go have a beer with him after, that's on you. But, I'm not just saying this because Piazza was my guy, but you sit there, that stuff that should never, when they always do those highlight clips as they go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I can't think of Roger Clemens without thinking of him throwing that bat. I really can't.
Yeah.
That's in the top 5 highlights of Roger Clemens in my mind. So if that's the case for me, I have to believe it's the case for a lot of other people. And that's not where baseball, the Hall of Fame, you don't have to be spotless, but that should not be in your top 5. It really shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't be. But talent-wise, he's a Hall of Famer. Bonds is a Hall of Famer.
That's the one that drives me.
And A-Rod, as much as I don't like him, I didn't like him as a player. I can tolerate him now.
Did you see Screwball
honestly,
yet?
he's pretty talented at what he does now.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's educated.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
That was the problem with A-Rod, is he was always too educated, right?
Yeah.
So he knew exactly what he was doing every single step. He calculated the dollars. He calculated what he needed to do to get started. Watch Screwball. You will hate Rob Manfred more than you hate him now. Because
there's not that's impossible. That's impossible to do that.
When he popped up on the screen, I threw out some expletive. Yeah. I was like, no, I know why Potesta hates him. No, I hate that guy. And then, I usually don't hate commissioners. You give them grief. But then there was the baseball draft, the next 2 nights later. And I was like, he stood up behind the Fortress of Solitude that he had built for him, so he could, the press, and he stood up there, and I was like, "Boo!" He was Roger Goodell. Get out of here!
Yeah,
You're killing the game.
Exactly.
He is. You're exactly right. He's killing the game, and he did it from behind the scenes, and now he's doing it right in front of our faces.
And it's unfortunate.
It is.
It really is.
And he's going to be the leader that says, "No A-Rod, no Bonds."
Yeah.
And he had the ability to get Pete through. And
wow, we're going to take a time out, and then I got to talk about that. That's a Monday edition of Running Point, YSNLive.com.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. DJ is scooted out of the premise. Look at this. We got our YSN hats. See, YSN hat. The hats are $20, and you can only come here to the studios in East Palestine.
So reach out to YSN on any of our platforms and say you're interested in buying a hat, and then we'll set you up and we'll schedule a time when you can come down and get a hat from
there. You go.
Headquarters.
Mugs, 14-ounce mugs. They're $12, and the T-shirts are $10. You can go old school with the YSN shield, or you can get the
scripted blue.
the YSN scripted in blue on a T-shirt, and they're $10. DJ brought up Pete Rose. He's never going to see the light of day, and nor should he for the Hall of Fame. And the big reason why it's steroids and gambling are two entirely different things. The steroids, first of all, when McGuire was taking them in '98, there was no law that said, "Hey, you're not allowed to do that." And as we mentioned, McGuire took stuff that was over the counter.
Yep.
In other words, you didn't need to go to a doctor and the doctor fill you a prescription and the pharmacist give you the prescription. No, the stuff that McGuire was taking at the time, now it's illegal, but at that time, that stuff was sold over the counter. So you could go to a GNC or a drugstore, and anyone that had this particular stuff, you could purchase it over the counter. You didn't need a prescription. So when McGuire was doing that, steroids at the time there was no law against steroids in Major League Baseball. It wasn't until Major League Baseball finally came down, 10 years later, saying, hey, we don't want anybody taking steroids anymore, and this is what you're not allowed to do, and if you do it, there's going to be consequences to pay. Well, it took Major League Baseball 10 years after the fact to actually put some rules down. The reason why the guys from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s and prior to the steroid era have gotten a break was because they were taking amphetamines. Well, that was just to wake someone up or give them energy. Second game of the doubleheader or the second or the day game.
Time they took them, it was still against the rules.
Absolutely, it was against the rules of society to have an amphetamine.
You can't even say that. I mean, the steroids that McGuire took weren't against the rules of
baseball.
No,
they weren't. They weren't. So were his numbers inflated? Absolutely, they were. Were the consequences of something that Major League Baseball should have thought of? Yeah, of course. They should have never allowed those guys to have steroids, but it is what it is. And it took them way too long. Gambling is a completely separate issue because the 1919 World Series got thrown, and after that, when Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, the racist that he is, when he said there will be no more gambling. As a matter of fact, we're going to make sure that every player knows when they walk into a baseball clubhouse that there's not going to be any gambling. There's a big difference here. You pretty much know where you are standing with Major League Baseball if you gamble on baseball. And Pete Rose, unfortunately, he was arrogant and he felt, hey, I'll do whatever I want to do. Well, there's consequences to that. And yes, you have the record for most hits in your career. And yes, you are a great baseball player or were a great baseball player. but you also gambled on baseball. You're done. You're not allowed to be in baseball anymore. Now, the Hall of Fame is run separately from Major League Baseball, and I've heard this and have been told this.
He's never going to get in as long as he's banned from baseball. I mean, right?
Well, and the other thing, and John Parado is a voter. He gets to vote every year in the Hall of Fame because he's a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America. The BBWAA has never had Pete Rose on the ballot, and it's not up to them. It's up to the Hall of Fame to put Pete Rose on the ballot. The popular thought of all of this is, well, the sports writers, they refuse to vote for Pete Rose. Wait a second. The sports writers aren't even given an opportunity to vote for Pete Rose. They've never been given that opportunity. They're only going by the ballot that the Hall of Fame gives them. Now, if it were me, would I put Rose in the Hall of Fame? No. Would I put Rose's artifacts in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
Would you put them on the ballot?
Probably not.
Let people make their own decisions.
But if I'm going to put his name on the ballot, I'm putting Joe Jackson's name on the ballot.
You have to.
The other 6 guys the 7 guys that were accused of cheating and throwing the 1919 World Series, the other 7 guys weren't Hall of Famers. Joe Jackson was. So if I'm going to put Rose's name on there, I got to put Joe Jackson's name on there. I'm just saying, I got to put both of them on there if I'm going to do that. And if you do that, do you put their name on the ballot one time and one time only? And if they get voted into the Hall of Fame on this one time only thing, okay. If they don't, then they're out of the Hall of Fame for good. Again, Major League Baseball doesn't have anything to do with the Hall of Fame. It's a separate entity. So even if Major League Baseball were to sit back and say to Pete Rose, hey, we're going to welcome you back to baseball, there's no guarantees the Hall of Fame would welcome him back. I'm pretty sure they would, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah, but on the flip side, as long as he's banned from baseball, they'll never put him on the ballot.
No, absolutely not.
So
yeah, he's not going on the ballot anytime soon. And even if he were to be eligible, I don't even think that the writers would vote for him. I think a veterans committee would have to vote for him now, unless they really did things differently. I don't think Pete Rose will ever be in the Hall of Fame, nor do I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, because he did something that was you knew after the 1919 Black Sox scandal. You knew if you gamble on baseball, you know your consequences.
Yep.
You didn't know your consequences if you were doing an illegal substance. Not until Major League Baseball finally threw down and said, okay, now you're not allowed to do this.
Now you know.
Now you know where you stand.
Class A.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, amongst other people, and unfortunately, Manny flunked two drug tests post the whole thing, where you now know where you stand, which is probably why Manny's never getting into the Hall of Fame.
Ryan Braun got caught, right?
Ryan Braun got caught, absolutely. I think A-Rod got caught after the penalty, so I'm not sure that he'll ever get into the Hall of Fame, though his numbers are good enough. He and Manny both have numbers that are good enough. I just don't know if either one of them will be in the Hall of Fame. So
it's when you're Hall of Fame, like there's such a gray area when you separate like this on the field numbers deserving to get in and the off the field stuff that they did, because you're supposed to be in the Hall of Fame because of what you did on the field, period. But then sometimes there's stuff that you did off the field that you can't overlook and put them in the Hall of Fame.
Ty Cobb allegedly killed somebody,
right?
And he's in the Hall of Fame.
I remember a couple of years ago, I think Darren Sharper was on the NFL ballot.
Mm-hmm.
He's in jail for multiple counts of rape.
Yeah.
So like he can't even walk the halls of his house. He could be in the Hall of Fame. Now he wasn't voted in, but he was on the ballot. And then it's kind of those weird things like NFL refuses to let Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame.
Well, they finally voted him into the Hall of Fame, and he didn't want to show up.
Right. I mean,
which
for the longest time, Terrell Owens was just like, "You're not getting in the Hall of Fame." But then when you see like a guy like Darren Sharper get on the ballot, you're like, "Wait a minute." It's a head scratcher.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people would sit back and go, what is O.J. doing in the Hall of Fame?
Right.
Well, O.J. got into the Hall of Fame before
that's
the
true.
alleged double murder.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't alleged. It was a double murder. It's whether or not he did it or not. Before he allegedly killed his wife and her friend, he was put into the Hall of Fame. He was put into the Hall of Fame in 1985. He was put into the Hall of Fame, and then 9 years later, he
made it oopsie.
Yeah, he was charged with double murder. So, he was into the Hall of Fame long before.
Then you have to
that happened.
The question is, can you take him out? Like, can you just say whoop whoop?
No, he's not getting out anytime soon.
So.
Yeah, much like his long jail term in Las Vegas, he wasn't getting out anytime soon.
His social media and the replies to his social media are popcorn worthy. Let's sit there and watch, and because people have gotten really creative, let's just say that, with the things that they put at anything he tweets, no matter what it is. People will come on with I mean, it's a hoot.
I'll be the first to admit I follow OJ on Twitter.
Right.
I do. I follow OJ on Twitter, and he's interesting to say the least. But I'm with you. Some of the replies that he gets are creative.
Yes.
And then others are okay. That's well established. Okay,
Yep.
you're pretty much picking the low end fruit at
Right,
this point.
right.
But no, he's interesting to say the least. He'll have his commentary on life issues and among other things. It's an interesting follow, and his phrase is "Hello, it's yours truly." I'm like, wait a second, did you change your name from OJ to yours truly? So that's what he does.
It's like you gotta have that greeting. You gotta the gym dance. Hello, friends.
Yeah, hello, friends. Well, he doesn't do that. He's hey, hello, it's yours truly. I'm like, thought you were OJ. So we've been talking about the documentary on ESPN last night, Long Gone Summer. That was kind of fun to reminisce. Not much learned, other than the fact that it was a fun summer.
Yeah, I think the only thing that people learned, if you didn't know already, you learned how much that summer saved baseball from a lot of bad things, and it made people kind of enjoy baseball again after 1994.
Now, the one thing that we've been saying for quite a while, there isn't anything on the horizon that can save baseball right now. If you continue to do what you're doing with the players and the owners despising each other and sitting out and not coming back on what should have been the 4th of July, coming back and having a feel-good story, and you both screw that up, and now you've got to wait for a guy that despises baseball to let everyone know when the game is going to be played or how long the season is going to be, and then you have the strike in the potential strike after the 2021 season. You don't have anything on the horizon that can save this game, and that's why there's a bunch of little things that equal one massive thing that has the potential to kill this sport or do grave damage to this sport.
Yeah, I'll say that it might drastically transform into something else in the years to come, and the MLB as we know it might be completely altered by 2023, 2024 if things don't go well.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Professional baseball will always exist because there's always going to be it's one of the four major sports. There's always going to be a hunger for professional baseball. I don't think that's going to go away. But the MLB structure and the MLB as we know it might have some really hard times.
Well, back in the day, and we're talking 70, 80 years ago, baseball and boxing were the sports.
Exactly.
And look at what boxing has become in the last 80 years. It's pretty much gone.
It's more of a niche, but it's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a boxer, then you still work hard to get to that spot.
Yeah,
So,
but it's a niche. It wasn't. It 80 years ago, it was one of the major sports. Football was not a major sport back then. It was a regional niche type of sport. Now football is king, for a lot of reasons. The biggest of which is the gambling is a lot easier to do on football than any other sport. Boxing took a serious nosedive, and I can see baseball taking, and it's already starting to take that nosedive. I can see baseball taking a significant nosedive on the professional ranks to where it becomes much like boxing has become, where it's a sport, but nobody really gives a hoot one way or the other.
that's just crazy to think.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
I don't want to live in that world.
I don't want to live in that world either, but it's becoming painfully obvious that world is coming to us unless something happens drastically.
This could have saved it. The summer could have saved it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're going to take a final timeout to wrap this puppy up. It's a Monday edition of Running Point. Stick around.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it. Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it. And find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts. All within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. While we were jibber-jabbering this afternoon, news broke out from the Dallas Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott is the latest athlete to be diagnosed with COVID-19. Interesting.
Like we said, I mean, people are going to get sick because we've been quarantined for 3 months. It's going to happen, and I don't think it's as big of a story as it was when the couple NBA players got sick at the start of this thing, and it was instant shutdown because we didn't know what to do with this virus. So I think it's only really big news because of how big of a name Ezekiel Elliott is. But in the Cowboys organization, it says, hey, you deal with it, you go through it, and for 2 weeks you just kind of have it, and then Ezekiel Elliott will be fine because he's a fit physical person, and he won't be affected by it. But Yeah, these stories are going to pop up more and more because people are going to get sick because they've been quarantined for 3 months. It's just how it works.
Ironically enough, the state of Texas that had everyone running out all at once to do whatever they wanted to do, Texas opened up pretty quickly. There are a number of Dallas Cowboys and Houston Texans who have tested positive for COVID-19. And I agree with you. You know, you've been cooped up for a long period of time. It's bound to happen. But several players from each franchise have tested positive for COVID-19. And I think that it's interesting in the state of Texas where Texas opened up really fast all at once, and this is what happens when you do that.
Once again, not a doctor, not pretending to be one, but
Yep.
I think the numbers that you really want to look at when we start to reopen are hospitalizations and that death rate. And both the numbers I've seen, both those numbers are going down across the country, which is good. Obviously, people are still going to get it, but we're staying away from the serious cases that are causing people to get to the hospital, which are causing our hospitals to get overflown. And we're also seeing the death rate of it go down. So those are all positive things. We might see a spike in actual confirmed cases, basically because the testing is getting more and more apparent. But I think when you look at the numbers of hospitalizations and death rates, that's what really matters, and that's what's going down. So far, so good, I think, in the grand scheme of things.
I'll be real curious to see what happens as we get closer to training camps in the National Football League. And again, football is a sport where linemen are inches apart from each other. This is going to be really fascinating to see what happens. But the reports are that several members of the Dallas Cowboys, including Ezekiel Elliott, several members of the Houston Texans have tested positive for COVID-19. So there you go. All right, coming up on Wednesday's show, we will have our golf segment at 1 o'clock on Wednesday with Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek. He did a little bit better than we did in terms of picking a golfer. Your guy didn't even make the cut. My guy took a massive crap on himself on Sunday, and Rory McIlroy. Justin Thomas actually had a top 10 finish.
All right. So
and we all thought that Jason Kokrak had a chance. And as it turns out, he was one shot from a playoff that could very well have given him his first win on the PGA Tour.
Brian's expertise shines bright.
No doubt. And he will give us a little how do you do on the golf course for the upcoming weekend. Not to mention the tip that he will have. Yes. And I wrote that tip down, and the next time I golf.
Hopefully this week you scheduled your golf for later in the week. That way that tip won't be too late for you.
I think that because I can probably go golfing on Saturday morning, I'm gonna probably do that.
Yeah.
And then use Brian's first tip from the putting.
Yeah, remember last week's tip too.
Yeah, the putting. I've written it down, and I will write down the tip that he will leave on Wednesday. So that should be an awful lot of fun. Brian Tolnar will be our guest Wednesday at 1 o'clock. We'll get a few more guests in here as well, and we have plenty of stuff to talk about. B-League is up and running. And hopefully, knock on wood, a lot of games will be completed within 2 hours. That'll do it for the Monday edition of Running Point. Thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for the guest, Dana Balish, coming in at 1 o'clock via the YSN hotline. We'll do it again Wednesday, noon to 3 on YSN Live.